Rob and Kaylee from That Horror Couple. So really pumped to have them here, and let's just go ahead and bring them in. Let's go ahead and do it.
Yo,
how are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, Davey, what's going on, man?
You?
Doing great. Really pumped to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for carving out some time and hanging out with us here.
Yo, thanks for having us, man.
Thank you for having us.
Hell of a chat, dude. I'm like a fan of like half the chat. Like I was like, oh, yo, Lee's in the chat, dude.
That is, yeah, totally surreal. Completely awesome.
I think us and Lee are the only ones that like Halloween Ends. Like,
that's right.
In the history of the internet, it's like the only two.
Right here, it's like it might be my second favorite in the whole series. Like
right?
it's right, like it's right there. Like dude, I absolutely adore Halloween Ends, and
I try to tell people, I'm like, Laurie Strode became Dr. Loomis in her old age. It's amazing, and everybody's like, it doesn't have enough Michael, and I'm like, no. Laurie Strode became Dr. Loomis, so I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, so.
Yeah, and it's I think with Halloween Ends too, it's like there are so many of those movies that where it's if you want to see Michael and you want to see a standard, Michael going around killing people, we have like 10 of those movies.
Right.
Maybe not. Like to me, the ones that stand out, I kind of like those. I like when people take chances in the creative world. So I'm a big fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Like I don't like his remake so much, but I really enjoy Halloween 2 because it takes some of the biggest swings in the franchise. I mean, up to that point, probably the biggest swings so far until it ends.
Yeah, like, and part 3 also, it's totally different in the series. And I like how if the font in the beginning of Ends was the same font. I was like, dude, this is really cool. I'm like, and I went into it like everybody else. I had no idea, and I was like, who's gonna win the fight, Michael or Laurie? And I thought it was gonna be like that. I'm like, but that wasn't even the issue. I was like, oh. They got me good.
Yeah. I knew that with, like I had seen an interview with David Gordon Green, and he had mentioned, he was like, there's this character, Corey Cunningham. He's going to kind of be Michael's cohort, and he's going to be a main part of the story. So that was like pretty much all I knew other than watching the trailer, and going into it, like Kate and I watched it in IMAX opening night, and I was completely mesmerized from the very beginning. I thought that it had such a different, had the same kind of look as the other two movies, but a totally different vibe because they actually use like pop songs in the soundtrack as well as like the score. So I thought that, they were making all these deliberate decisions to separate this one from the other films, but also make sure that it worked, within that scope of the trilogy.
And I just looked at it like, it's basically John Carpenter's story about how evil took over a soul. Like before Michael became like really popular and like was on lunch boxes and T-shirts. I mean, Carpenter he just told a story about evil taking over a soul, and this is that same story, but like the next generation. So
exactly.
I was like, but like I left the theater thinking like I thought it was cool, but I'm like everybody's gonna hate this. I'm like I was just waiting for it. I'm like because. The previous films were getting like, they were getting some shit. So I thought like everybody's going to hate this one. So,
yeah, I didn't know what to, I guess I was sort of surprised because I don't know. I'm not saying I'm the true barometer of like how people are going to feel about a movie, but I certainly didn't expect it to be like The Last Jedi of the Halloween world, and it seemed like it sort of had that vibe where it was like, oh shit, you either hate this or love this. Like I don't see a lot of people that are like, oh, it's fine. Like Raymond here is like, it's okay. Lee like was not a lot of people.
Lee was hardcore though. I think he made like a documentary about it, didn't he?
That was really cool.
Yeah, like Lee was not joking around. He was like he was like representing. So I was like, hell yeah, Lee. So
yeah, he's always standing up for the movies that he really loves, and also just I think there is something about us in the horror sphere where we kind of like stuff that's a little like off to the side, like a little on the fringe, So I think there's a little bit. There's even a faction of horror fans that are like they're willing to sort of meet the creators halfway and give them that benefit of the doubt, And Halloween Ends is a great example of. Meeting the creators halfway for sure,
and that's very punk rock going against the grain like that. I feel like that was a punk rock decision, and
it is definitely absolutely for sure. And Allie girl, she's like, they should have just left Michael out of it. They needed to have some sort of connective tissue though, Allie. But I get what you're saying. Like if he wasn't there and somebody just sort of took on the mantle, that would have worked too. And honestly, by the time Corey puts on the mask and the jumpsuit, when he's taking care of the band kids in the junkyard, like that's Michael to me. When he's fucking up the people in the radio station, like that's Michael. Like,
dude, yeah,
all intents and purposes, you know, I can't.
That radio station kill was awesome. I love that tongue on the.
Yeah.
I love that spit.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we got Darcy from the Last Drive-In cameo. I mean, I was like, dude, this is. Oh, Nick Castle was
He had a cameo.
He had a cameo.
Yeah, he says the PJ Souls line. He has Linda's "See anything you like" line. It's great. Yeah,
and I was just like, this is great, and everybody's gonna hate this. I'm like.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a think piece. It is different, you know, and I think that it's one of those things that, you know, just like the way we feel about Halloween 3 now, you know, in 15, 20 years, when people, when the people that are being born now experience Halloween Ends and they don't have all the hype or they don't have all the expectations, like who knows what that generation will think about it, because they'll be coming at it from a totally different angle than all of us who are just like waiting with bated breath and had been watching those movies since, you know, we were little kids. And then also just the whole trilogy was really exciting because we haven't really had that with a main, you know, horror icon in a really damn long time. Like honestly, not since the first 3 Scream movies came out within like 3 or 4 years of one another. Like we haven't had that much of like a horror icon. So special.
What I thought was really cool too is I thought about this, and like the Halloween series, there was not a consistent storyline at all. There was 1 and 2, then it broke off into 3, then there's 4, 5, then it breaks off into 6, and then H2O ignores the sequels. Then there's Busta Rhymes karate kicking Michael, and then there's the Rob Zombie ones. So there wasn't 3 films that made sense back to back until this trilogy. So I thought the consistency was pretty good. So he would marry both of us.
We love you guys.
I'm down if you are.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone talks about the choose your own adventure with Halloween. You know, it's like you can just watch the first one and stop there. You can kind of like pick the, you know, the version of the story that you want to experience, which I think is one of the reasons why it works so well. Because, you know, most horror franchises don't really make total sense. Even when they try to make sense, they don't really make sense. Like Friday the 13th, that's a mess as well. You know, they tried to make sense out of A Nightmare on Elm Street, but that sort of, you know, kind of fell off the rails. Scream is probably the most consistent one, you know, out of all of them. But that's just sort of the nature of, I don't know, I guess, you know, back when they were making all these movies, when the slasher craze popped off in the 80s, they were like, oh, no one's gonna, you know, spend time like going through these films and dissecting them and making YouTube channels and like, you know, doing video essays on, you know, the consistencies of the looks of Jason Voorhees or ranking and all that kind of stuff. So,
but here we are.
Made the movies. I know, it's wild. It's wild. Little did they know. And you know what? It would be so boring if all of them made sense. We would have nothing to talk about because now we can be like, which Jason's the best one? You know, which kill's the best?
I also think it's super cool that we can disagree and still like be friends and like in the community, because like sometimes it gets boring when everybody's like, that's awesome, and they're like, yeah, right back at you. Yeah, right back at you. Sometimes it's cool when, you know, people disagree, you know, but like in a cool way though. Like you can be
I mean, because it's art, right? So it's everybody sort of looks at art in a totally different way, and so, you know, you bring your own interpretation of what it all means. And, you know, one of the things we talk about here on the channel quite a bit is just that, like, I mean, I think it's fascinating to know why something works or why something doesn't work, why somebody loves a movie or doesn't love a movie, and then to be able to articulate that in a way that sort of like the next time I go and experience that piece of art, that, you know, that album or that movie or whatever, I have a totally different perspective and like way to look at it. And maybe I end up feeling totally different about it, you know? Like there may be some people right now that hate Ends, and maybe they have a conversation with one of their good friends, and then the next time they watch Ends, they just see it a little bit differently, you know?
The new Crow got a lot of like a lot of shit though. I think, but like unnecessarily, because I didn't hate it. So
Yeah, and that's another one that Lee was like, he brought it up. Nick from the Lost River Drive-In and I were on Lee's channel a couple weeks ago talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 for the 15th anniversary. And we sort of went on a little tangent where Lee was like, I think that this Crow movie might be like the new Halloween Ends. Like it might be that movie that like some people are going to see something in that works on a deeper level. And then other people are going to be like, oh, this is bullshit, you know? I haven't seen it yet, so I can't speak to it, but I'm definitely open to it for sure. I mean, I like the original Crow, but it's not something where I'm like, how dare they? I don't really feel that way about anything.
That's how I felt about it too, because of course everybody knows like the tragedy of what happened, but like I looked at it like a tribute rather than making a new Crow. I was like, it's a tribute, dude. It's like there wouldn't be a Crow now if there wasn't a Crow then. So
yeah, and it's one of those things too where it's like, you know, the character existed before that, so it's not like this was some original idea in the first film and that it can't be touched again. I mean, if there's one movie that maybe I don't want to see remade ever again, it's or remade at all, it's Jaws. I probably don't ever need to see Jaws remade, but pretty much everything else I'd put on the table. You know,
I'm surprised it hasn't. I'm surprised it hasn't been with all the remakes.
Wild.
With all the remakes, I'm surprised they did not do that. But
it's wild.
They haven't. Yeah,
we get like a big CGI shark or something.
I mean, and that's the only way that it could be good is if they didn't do that. If they're like, no, we're gonna build a big ass giant shark, you know, that's the only way I would ever even give it a shot. Or if they make it a little bit more like the book, because the book has some elements that are left out of the movie. I think the movie's better than the book, but I do think that you could build a little more intrigue if you put some of the elements from the book back into it. There's like some sexy stuff in the book that would make the movie pretty weird. And then also the mayor is like involved in some, you know, he owes the mob money, so that's why he really wants to keep the beaches open, which I think is kind of an interesting sort of angle for him.
It was a mafia angle.
Yeah, I read it once.
Book
it's been a few years since I read it, but now that you bring it back up, it's like bringing it back to me.
I was like, I don't remember any gangsters. I'm like, oh, okay, the book.
And then a weird thing about the book is every day when they go out to sea, they like come back. They don't stay out there in the boat. And I'm like, that works so much better when they just stay out in the boat. You know, they keep on coming back and they're like, I'll be literally back for dinner kind of thing. And it's like, Kaylee breaks it up a little bit.
You read a lot of books. I believe we have the miracle of television, so I don't believe in books. So
I'm not a big reader either because they just put me to sleep for the most part. But Jaws is a book that I've read a few times because it's my favorite film of all time. So
a lot of people with like movies that were books, they're like the book was better, and I'm like, yeah, well, the movie was over in 2 hours. And
true.
Yeah, I didn't have to read it. So
yeah, and I think sometimes it's like I sort of feel the same way where, you know, I think a movie, so many people work on films. It's this great, you know, team effort, and I really like that about film. And I think that film, I think of it as an extension of literature, and I think it's the most concise form of storytelling. I'm not really a big TV guy either because I feel like TV just sort of drags you along and makes you watch like hours and hours of like bullshit, and then they give you like a little bit, they give you a nice little treat at the beginning of the episode, and then they give you a cliffhanger ending and you just want to watch the next episode, but everything in the middle is filler. I'm looking at you, The Walking Dead.
We have the spin-offs. Now we have the spin-offs and all that now.
Yeah. So to me, it's just like TV is sort of like one big commercial is sort of how I look at it. Whereas like film, they still have to tell you a damn good story, you know, within about 2 hours. They have to have a beginning, middle, and end, even if it's part of a greater story. You know, each film kind of has that. Like, I can watch the Harry Potter movies, but man, I don't know if I'd be able to get through the books. Like, I don't know.
Did you see Romulus recently?
I have not seen Romulus. Yeah. I'm heartbroken that I haven't seen it yet. I've been trying to get to all these movies, but life has just been really busy, and then it's just really expensive, and I don't live. I know everyone does that Regal thing where you can get like the pass where you can watch all, you know, as many movies as you want. But I live like 40 minutes away from the closest Regal. So I'm just sort of like, you know, it would be a big ordeal. I really do want to see Romulus. I didn't even watch Wolverine and Deadpool and then kind of had my, you know, boner killed on it because the spoilers were out within the first like 3 or 4 days.
Don't you hate when your boner's killed?
It's just the worst. And I sort of got mad. I was like, well, now I'm not going to see it because fuck that shit. You know, it's like, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, you know, I don't know. You got to earn my ticket. And it's not like these movies haven't, but they're all coming out at the same time. And I'm just like, I just didn't know what to do. But I do love Fede Alvarez. That Evil Dead from 2013 is one of my favorite horror films. It's my second favorite in the series, only to the original. The original is the only one that beats it out for me, but Evil Dead is a franchise that's like very near and dear to me.
I see the poster.
Yeah.
It changed the way I thought about film. I saw it for the first time when I was like 15, so this was like late 90s or something like that, and it just blew my perception of like what film could be. You know,
I like the original. And I like the two new ones. Like I really do. Like I just think they're so dark, and I love the atmosphere of the first one with the cat, like the middle of the woods. Like I just love that, dude. I also I like the artwork of Michael behind you. That looks really good.
Really nice.
Oh yeah. That is, so it's from the Rob Zombie's first Halloween, but yeah, I got that at like a punk rock festival that was out here in Phoenix, like what, 4 or 5 years ago. You know, it was like Strung Out and Face to Face and all these bands playing.
Nice.
And this guy just had a bunch of posters, and so I got a few I got one for my wife, I bought one for my brother, and then I got that guy for me because he just looks awesome there. I mean, you know, Michael's the man.
You probably weren't expecting to take home a Michael poster, but you were like,
no.
Yeah, that's a cool find, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was fun. They had like a tent where they had like a record store set up. So they had all, like, I got Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style on double 180 gram vinyl. Like I picked out like just this most eclectic mix. I think I got like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets were there as well. So I got like all these records, and then I bought some posters, and that's how I spent my money. You know, that's what happens when you you know, eat edibles with strangers and have a couple beers at a punk rock show. You just start, you know, spending money willy-nilly.
Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning, man, those are solid records.
Those are the ones. The first three Metallica I can really hang with, but then after that, I'm a Megadeth guy, true, like tried and true from there on out. Like, that's I
always liked like how like when the Black Album came out, they started doing ballads, and I'm like, metal band that can pull off ballads, that's pretty dope. I was like, that's awesome. I was like,
well, and I think that some of their early stuff, I mean, even like Fade to Black's got that kind of feel. You know? I think some of their early, because they have that kind of classical sort of edge. Metal's always sort of like had a little bit of that classical element for sure. Yeah, and I think the Black Album has like it's got its time and its place. Absolutely. When you look back at it though, and you sort of compare it to what they were at the beginning, you're like, oh, this is like a totally different band. You know, like once Cliff and Dave were gone, like Metallica fundamentally, you know, changed kind of the way they approach their music anyway.
I think 72 Seasons it rocked balls. I thought it was awesome.
I've listened to it maybe once or twice, and then I listened to the new Megadeth record, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. Have you guys heard that one?
You're a Megadeth guy, aren't you?
That one just shreds. And then I think the biggest difference for me is I don't think Metallica, their lyrics are a giant question mark for me. I'm just like, what are you singing about? Like, I feel like Dave has always written lyrics that sort of mean something, and the Metallica lyrics to me are sort of like marketing. It's just like little catchphrases and stuff. It's kind of what Green Day has become lately too, where when I listen to newer Green Day, I'm like, dude, these songs aren't about like what are these songs about? It's just like a bunch of catchphrases. I mean, it's just bizarre to me. I think they used a song on a Taco Bell commercial, and now they're doing stuff for 7-Eleven and Keurig, and I'm like, fuck, dude, if people thought Green Day sold out when Dookie came out, holy shit.
No, but Dookie was the first record I ever bought that was like my record. Before that, I was listening to like my dad's records, but like Dookie was the first record I ever bought, and after that, I got Rancid's Out Come the Wolves. And
there it is.
Yeah, then I think Blink. I was like into Blink and stuff like that. So those were like the first three like mainstream punk stuff I was into.
Yeah, Green Day broke when I was in like 7th grade. It was like 94, and that kind of like blew it all open for me as far as like started hanging out with the skater kids in my small town.
That's what I did.
They showed me Pennywise and Face to Face and NoFX, and then it just sort of pushed me into hearing some bands that I never would have heard of, you know, if it weren't for something like Green Day kind of breaking through the mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. I made friends with like the only 3 skateboarders in my whole school. The rest were just like, well, nowadays kids listen to everything. Back when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. There was like homeboys into rap, and there was like there was rock and roll kids, and the styles were different. Everything was different. So yeah, so I hung out with the skateboarding kids, and like, you know, we listened to like Green Day, like Rancid, like stuff like that. The Queers, Screeching Weasel, and then I went to a local punk show in New York, and that like changed forever. Because then finally, like these punks at Mohawks, like they're looking very mean, and I'm like, oh god, and when I walked up and got to know them, they were like the nicest guys, and they were like, So from there, I got into like, they showed me like my friend Jay, he gave me like a mixtape, and on the mixtape was like Black Flag, Gigi Allen, like the heavier stuff, like Dead Kennedys, and I was like, so with punk rock, there's all these different branches, and I just love all of it. Like I love everything from like Green Day to like the Dead Kennedys or Black Flag, you know, it doesn't matter. Like I just love it all. So
I'm in the same boat where it's like I really every now and then I'm just in the mood for something a bit more hardcore and driving.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I just want something like Goldfinger that just is good, like sunny day driving music, or you know, like something like that. Kaylee, like, how about you? What kind of music are you into? I was curious about that because you know, to give some folks a background on you guys, you've been a couple for about 10 years. You're going on your 10th year. And you guys started the channel about 4 years ago, right? 2020.
The sex is still good too.
That's great,
true.
man.
Yeah,
the 2020.
That's amazing.
I wear a bandana sometimes.
Pictures or it didn't happen. So, and you guys met on these like Instagram watch parties where you'd like watch a movie and like chat on Instagram with a bunch of people, right? And then you guys sort of hit it off doing like just in the chat there. And that's how you got to know each other a little bit better and became a couple. So clearly you guys have always had, you know, the love of horror has always been there. I imagine you guys have different flavors of like the kind of horror you like, but I am curious, Kaylee, what kind of music are you into? You know, Rob digs the punk stuff. What do you listen to, you know, when you're relaxing or when you're, you know, looking to get pumped up for the weekend or whatever?
You like soundtracks?
I like, I'm pretty mainstream. I love like Taylor Swift, like Sabrina Carpenter. But then I like stuff like the Smiths or the Misfits. Like I'm all over the board, really, to be honest.
Yeah, you like some cool stuff.
I like a lot of different stuff. I'm trying to think. What else? Yeah, it's mostly like like mainstream stuff. I listen to that stuff, like the pop stuff. So that's like my thing. And it's funny because he's like on the punk rock side of it. He's super into punk. He's really, really into music. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I like what's on the radio.
I dragged her to a Murder Junkie show, and we saw the Queers like a couple years ago here, and it was like, I think so you've seen some cool bands because of me.
Yeah.
it was wild, bro. Like
I do like the Queers. I like their poppy songs.
Yeah,
songs. Yeah.
The Queers sound like a Beach Boys, Ramones.
It's Beach Boys. Yeah, for sure.
So,
Joe is Ramona clone.
Joe Queer is such a great songwriter. Like he is so like, I think because the name the Queers, he gets overlooked. I think he's like such a great songwriter, and it was weird, bro, because I grew up listening to him, and I walked up to the show and he's just hanging out in the parking lot, and I'm like, Joe, and he's like, yeah, and I was like, hey, bro, I was like, can I get a picture? And like, dude, to me that was like me meeting like a celebrity, you know what I mean? To me,
for sure.
This guy was on my, like, even before YouTube, like it wasn't like I listened to these bands before you can like hear an interview from them, you know what I mean? Because
for sure,
these bands weren't on MTV, they weren't, so like it was like, so to just, you know, see him first. It's one of those things where you want to get a picture and say what's up, but you don't want to hang around too long and bother him. So, you know, and Lars Fredriksson was another big one from Rancid. I ran into him.
Oh yeah.
He was out here because he was in a movie called The After Dark. It's a low budget horror movie, and we went to the screening, and Lars was just hanging out, and I'm like, holy shit, dude. So
that's wild.
Yeah,
it's crazy the kind of people you can bump into out there, you know, and like even like you're saying at a show, it's one thing. And I think, yeah, you're right. The people within the punk rock community are pretty chill. Like it's, you know, they don't think of themselves as anything like, you know, super special or anything like that. So it is pretty wild when you're just walking around and you bump into somebody, you know, in that regard. Yeah, I've always been, you know, going to shows and just trying to look out for that. Like, ooh, am I going to bump into, like, I think the first time I bumped into Fat Mike was just out in Hollywood, you know, like I was about to go see them. This was like Against Me was opening up, but it was way before Against Me. It was before they even signed with Fat. So this is, you know, I wasn't even 21 yet, but my brother was like feeding me beers at the show and all that kind of stuff. And running into Fat Mike just on the street was wild because he was somebody that like all through high school, I was just like, oh my God, NoFX is just the most amazing band. And
I love NoFX. I love NoFX.
Yeah, like, they're a big one for me for sure. And then as I got older, you know, I got in a little bit more of that, like, you know, the saves the day kind of thing, and a little bit more of that stuff that was, I mean, it was called emo, but to me, I just feel like that was just kind of easy to call it that because I think it's a little bit tougher to really put it in that box. But I get what people are saying. But yeah, I'm all over the place. Like I'm a big REO Speedwagon fan. Jim Croce is one of my favorite musicians of all time. I really like the Kinks. I really like, you know, Styx, the Smiths, like you had mentioned, Kaylee, they're one of my favorites. Like I love Morrissey and I don't care who knows it. Like I love his voice. It's beautiful.
Me too.
The Replacements.
I do like the Replacements. I'm not as hot on them as like a lot of people are, but I do really like them. I like that kind of jangly, you know, it is like, you know, emotional kind of jangly pop punk sort of, you know, they definitely have like a really cool sound that's sort of like all their own, you know.
Fat Mike,
for sure.
Fat Mike actually, he runs the Punk Rock Museum here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been on my things to.
Yeah, we still haven't made it out there. I told him I'd take him soon. We're gonna go soon.
That's been on my things to do list for like a year, and I just really want to go, and I think we're gonna make a YouTube video out of it. I'm just gonna. We're gonna walk around filming, and like, dude, like that's gonna be a cool video. Just the footage alone would be like worth checking out.
So how long have you guys been out there?
2 years.
2 years.
Hey, Brooke, what's happening? Just got to say what's up to Brooke there. So you've been out there for 2 years. You grew up in, were you in the city, Rob? You grew up in the city?
In Long Island. So like that whole emo thing you were talking about, that was huge, like in Long Island, like with taking back Sundays from Long Island, Thursdays from Long Island, brand new. So like I was more into punk, but like the whole like the early 2000s, like the whole Long Island scene exploded with like all these bands that were like just like they play like a few shows and just be famous. It was nuts, bro. Like
yeah, there's one of my favorite, like probably my favorite band of all time is called Lifetime. They're from New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I think that they like I attribute all of those bands like My Chem and Taking Back Sunday and Saves the Day, like to me they are all influenced by Lifetime because Lifetime was like the band that never really popped off and broke up like in like 97, 98. They put out a couple records and broke up. And then all these bands came out that sounded a lot like Lifetime because Lifetime's whole thing was really like fast punk rock songs, but then these epic breakdowns and not really necessarily like repeating too much. Like when I first heard Taking Back Sunday, I was like, oh, they figured out a way to make Lifetime's music like a little more poppy, like like more accessible. They twisted the knobs a little bit and found the secret sauce. I've always loved like East Coast music to me, you know, growing up on the opposite side of the country. I loved how East Coast punk rock just felt so alive and not as formulaic. Yeah.
I love the local scene too. It was just like, because there were so many like good bands and like for whatever reason, like they didn't make it as big as this band, but I thought they were just as good. Like there was a lot of talent, like like the local scene was like really fun to get into too, because just like horror, like, you know, you can track down rare films, but you can also track down rare music. And like for me, like the more obscure the music was, or the more like unknown the band was, the cooler it was to like wear the shirt or wear the patch or wear the pin. And
exactly.
You know, and I also, when I was at a punk show, I'm like, oh, these people are weird, kind of like me. And the weirder you are, the cooler you are. And I'm like, this place is like really cool. And I kind of felt the same way when I went to my first horror convention. I was like, oh, everybody here has like a Fright Rag shirt on. I'm like, this is cool. I'm like, these are my people. And like, I felt right away I felt like really comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of like the same thing. You could track down like rare movies, just like rare, like, and that there's indie movies, just like there's indie bands, and
yeah. I totally hear you. I think the two are so similar. It's like the people that gravitate towards punk rock or metal, the kind of fringe music, are the same people that are going to kind of gravitate towards those fringe movies as well. And I totally know what you mean, because man, it was like in my tiny little landlocked town. I grew up in Juneau, Alaska. You couldn't even drive out. You had to take a plane or a boat. It was like me and my 5 friends that would order shit from Fat Records and would listen to all these bands. And it felt like the most special thing in the entire world. So it made me love the music even more, like you're saying. And discovering horror as a little kid. Like I saw Halloween 2 when I was like 9 years old. And that was like, that was it for me. You know, same kind of thing where it's just like, this just feels right to me. And yeah, I think, you know, going to a horror convention, I say it all the time on the channel. It's like going to church, you know, it's just like, you know?
It's so easy to make friends there. For me, it was anyway. Because it's just, dude, it's like, nice shirt, dude. Okay, cool. And then it's all somewhere buddies. It's
yeah. Well, and you're focusing on, you know, the things, the commonalities, the things that bring us together, instead of focusing on, you know, the divisiveness and everything that's just such a part of like pop culture in general. Just like, you know, mainstream establishment culture in our country is sort of like, well, or if you don't agree with me 100% of the time, fuck you. You can't be my friend or my family member. And like, I think that art, you know, and how we feel about, you know, regardless of if you love the same movies as someone, like you were saying earlier, you know, you find those common things that you agree on, and you just, you know, that you love the same kinds of things. So kind of helps you drop all that bullshit at the door, for sure.
Yeah, we have more in common than we don't. You know what I mean? So it's like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and the people in power just want us to focus on the things that, you know, we don't agree on. They want us to think that those are the most important things. But yeah, like you're saying, there's way more that we have in common.
Absolutely.
And it scares the shit out of them. If we've all figured that out, it would be the most frightening thing for the people in control. That's the last thing they want, is us getting along.
Dude, we were at a horror convention and some dude was just like wearing our shirt. I was like, what? And I took a picture with him just for me. I was like, I got to get a picture with this dude. And like, that made my whole day. You know, I was like, this guy made my day. So, but that is probably why you found the Michael thing at the music fest. There is a crossover for sure with, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, that's got to be a trippy experience to see your own shirt out there.
The dude had a hoodie and he runs up and he's like, I'm a fan of your channel. So I said, oh, thank you very much. He unzips it and he's wearing my shirt. And I was like, bro, it was pretty cool. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
And so you guys have been doing it for about 4 years. You guys are well on your way to what? You're past 8,000. Are you at 9,000 yet? You guys are on your way to 10, right?
No, we're not that good.
No. We have.
What am I a big Mandela effect here?
No. I think you're thinking of Ken.
I think I think it's like 3.24 or something.
You know, I see so many that I sometimes I get confused. My bad. Yeah, you guys are at three and a quarter. Hell yeah.
That's why I want to suck up to the chat right now. And you know, we need your subs, people.
Yeah.
And you guys are very good looking people. I could tell.
Everyone's very good looking in the chat.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we need that sub.
Yeah.
You know what? And it's a good thing you guys mentioned it. If you guys haven't already, the links are in the description below, so you can follow Kaylee and Rob over at their YouTube channel. So I posted the link for the channel, for your merch, for the Twitter and the Instagram, and I think that's it. I think those are the links that I have in there. So
thank you, man.
Yeah, guys, if you haven't subbed already, hop on over, give them a sub. We want to see a nice boost when they hop out of here. We want them to be able to go and check those numbers and see that they've got a nice little bump from you guys. So so be cool.
Thanks so much. And like, you know,
of course
we are proud of like it's wild to us like that we've been doing this for a while, and we didn't know anything at first. Like Kaylee taught herself how to edit, and just being on like just making videos was a weird thing for us. So I think developing your own style is part of the fun though. So
yeah,
like
for sure.
We write down talking points. We don't have a script or nothing. We just write down what we liked, what we didn't like, and the rest of the conversation is just pretty much improv. So Kaylee has no idea what I'm about to say.
I do not.
And that's why, you know, she's in charge of the editing and she's responsible. And I tell dick jokes, but we make it work. We do.
Yeah.
It's a good contrast.
I think it's great. And I think, same kind of thing as far as like just having you sort of have an idea of what direction you want to go, but you're not scripting stuff too much, because I think people can sort of tell if it's a little too scripted, and they want that, like that raw realness, right? They want to see, like, they want to feel like they're hanging out, like the kind of vibe that we have here, where it's just like hanging out with buddies, you know?
That's what I wanted. And we were talking when 2020 and everything shut down. We were like, we should probably do something, because like we would talk about Halloween and we get into a conversation, or we talk about like a movie, and we're like, yo, that was funny, we should have recorded that, you know?
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, we should have recorded that. Oh, this guy's the man.
Yeah, Cody.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's hilarious. Dude, this guy's the man. Oh,
yeah, Cody's amazing.
And I'm not just saying that because he wears our hat.
Yeah.
I like him anyway.
No, he's cool. He's really cool.
No, but he does look good in that hat, I must say. Available now at Spreadshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, link in the description below.
Right.
At least it goes to the YouTube. Hopefully is it the same shop that you have on your YouTube channel?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it's like a direct link. It's like a third-party thing, but it's directly linked to the YouTube. So.
Hell yeah. And we got Liana is in here. She's dropping. Man, she was talking about All and the Descendants last time around, and now she's dropping S&M Airlines. I really like S&M Airlines. That's a fun old school no effects record there. A little different.
All's fantastic, dude. All's fantastic.
I love All.
You showed me No Effects in concert, and I love Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I love that they do the time warp before they kick off a concert. I thought that was the coolest thing. Yeah,
dude, their last show is like next month, like October 6th, I think it is, or something like that.
Yeah, it's the first weekend of October out in San Pedro. Yeah, I really wanted to go out to that.
Where's San Pedro?
It's south of LA. It's like south of I think it's even south of San Diego. It's basically Mexico.
Okay.
It's, right in that area. It's where the Minutemen are from. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that old school punk band.
The Jackass theme was done by the Minutemen.
It was, yes, absolutely. They're what a wild group the Minutemen were. They're just all over, like jazz meets punk, just like all over the place.
The Dead Milkmen kind of had a similar. A little bit,
yeah.
Like they kind of like the Dead Milk. I don't know, the Dead Milkmen, yeah, kind of like that. So
the crazy thing about punk back then in the early '80s is it was like anyone that didn't fit was punk. So it's like you had a band like SST Records was a band, Minutemen, Black Flag, Descendants. And none of those bands sound alike at all, but they're all on the same record label, and they all would play shows together, but they don't sound, you know what I mean? They're just like punk, almost like the approach. It's like one of the things I always say about The Evil Dead is I'm like, The Evil Dead's the most punk rock movie I've ever seen, because it's like the way that they made it, the way that they, at some points when they were filming that movie, it was like 3 people on set. So it has this, feeling of punk rock.
Yeah, and they struggled with the budget they had, right? Like they were just.
Yeah, I think they had like $60,000 or something.
Wow.
It was very DIY. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that whole thing too, that whole DIY kind of ethic, which is something that you certainly see in the YouTube world as well. Where it's like people just teaching themselves and figuring it out and getting better as they go, like what you guys have done over on your channel.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're still trying to get better, but
always learning.
The journey never ends.
No,
dude. I swear, Cody Leach, Lee, and a few others we were watching, and we're like, if we could just do something like that, and so we've been trying to emulate something like that. But at the same time, I didn't want to copy somebody, so I just was like, why don't I just say whatever I want? And sometimes we'll go off topic, and then, and then part of it is like. The video almost has nothing to do with the movie sometimes, because I just want to humor people or make them, you know what I mean? So like,
we go off on tangents.
Yeah, the topic is just my excuse to hit record, and then after that, I'm like, I just want to, humor somebody. And one time, someone wrote me, and she was from Puerto Rico, and she's like, I've been depressed lately. I had family problems, and I watched your video, and it cheered me up. She's like, thank you, and I was like, dude, the power of dick jokes.
Yeah, absolutely. They're powerful. They're rigidly powerful. The dick jokes.
Yeah. So,
and it's just sometimes it's like what people need is just like a healthy escape, right? So it's really cool just to be able to provide something that's like you know, if you can help them forget for 10 minutes or something like that, they don't have to go and abuse some drug or something like that to help them escape. They can just like have, you know, something that's healthy that gives them that break. And I think that's one of the great things about the community here on YouTube as well, is like people, you know, looking out for each other and people being there to lift each other up for sure.
Oh yeah, and it works both ways, because like seeing people react to like what we worked on and people reaching out to us and making friends like through that for us that way, it works both ways. So, you know.
Yeah, it's
thank you, Jamie.
Oh, you're the best. Yeah.
Death Squad mod Jamie Hart with the save there.
Yo, she's holding it down in the chat. She is.
Oh, she's got to, you know, she's got to some of these people in here too, you know.
Yo, by the end of this, we're gonna be up at it. We're gonna be up at 8,000. We are. We're gonna be around that.
I feel like such a jerk for bringing up that number. What an asshole!
No,
what an asshole! It's like that. You guys watch Airplane? Do you like the movie Airplane?
I don't know if
I
saw
don't know
it.
if I've ever seen that.
I like some comedies, but I'm not like a comedy guy really. But
well, I know that you're a big Dumb and Dumber fan.
Oh my God, yes, dude.
It's not the same kind of movie, but Airplane is like sort of dumb humor in a way. I think it's one of the funniest movies of all time, like easily. You should check it out. But I won't make the reference because it won't make any sense, you know.
Oh, okay.
we could talk Dumb and Dumber though all day. I have that movie memorized.
Oh my God, Jim Carrey in 1994, he was just unstoppable.
Dude,
I do want to ask you guys though a couple movie questions.
Go for it.
Kaylee, I've got one for you to kick things off because I know you're a big Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan as well. And I'm curious to know, and this is a big question, so, you know, get ready. Here we go.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, you know, maybe just give me your general feelings, or do you worry sometimes that with like, you know, big corporations taking over IPs and like the homogenization of things like Star Wars, like, do you ever get concerned that, you know, they're trying to make art that's for like everyone, and in that effort, they kind of make something that's for like no one, like that no one ends up being passionate about? Is that something that you see? Maybe you see it in horror, but is it something that you see in your film fandom outside of horror?
Yeah, I would say like the newer movies, like I watched all of the Star Wars movies like a few years ago, and then I became like an instant fan. But the sequels for me are not my favorite. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like when Disney like took over, it has a totally different feeling than the previous, like the original movies or the prequel movies. I'm not the biggest fan of the newest movies, but I will say I like the shows. I really enjoyed like The Acolyte, which I heard it got canceled for season 2, so I was kind of bummed. And The Mandalorian. I love well, Disney didn't do the earlier seasons, but the Clone Wars cartoon, I love that. But I can tell what you're talking about though with the newer ones. They felt completely different than the ones that were mainly done just by George Lucas and his people. So yeah, I can understand where you're coming from with that.
Thank you, Paula.
Paula's great. She came over from Killjoy Jake's channel the other week when he was on, and she's been popping in like all the damn time. So another example of people in the community that just, you know, they want to see more of this, and they want more folks to hang out with on YouTube. So hell yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Well, we're definitely down for hanging out. Please, we need friends. We're very lonely.
I feel the same way. I mean, just look at me. I'm sitting here in a blazer, sweating my ass off just to talk to whoever, you know. It's like somebody please be my friend.
You wore a blazer for me. That's really nice, Davey.
I could take it off, but then you know,
take it off, dude.
I gotta do it, even though it's friggin'. I don't know how hot it is out there where you guys are at, but it's like it's over 100 right now, and the sun's not even up.
Yeah, we're under a heat advisory. Like they're like, don't go outside or you might die. Thanks.
Yeah. Don't do it. Just stay in the casino.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
So do you guys go to punk rock bowling out there when it pops off in around May? I think it's right? May every year they do punk rock bowling.
I never been, but like we've been here, like we know about it because it's like a local event, and like the bands are incredible. Like Rancid played, the Queers played, a handful of others. I think Descendants were Descendants there.
I'm not sure.
They usually are.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think they were, and I was like, wow, this is like my whole like childhood, like on a stage. This is awesome. But yeah, I definitely would like to do it. But dude, a festival in like 100-degree weather, I would do it. But that's hot. That's hardcore.
I've definitely done that at Warped Tour back in the day, and it's not fun. But
I did that when I was.
You have to do it.
I saw Rancid, Alkaline Trio, and a few other bands. Oh, it was Rollins' band, but I saw them at Warped Tour, but I was like 19, so I didn't care. Like I was like, yeah. Now it's a little different. I'm like, dude, something's gonna happen bad.
Yeah, you never know. I know. I get that way too, like the anxiety of going out in public where I'm just like, please, nothing bad happen at the one time I go to some big concert, because I don't really do that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, we went and saw Megadeth a few weeks ago, and it's one of those things where you're just like, is this going to be the one? You know, it's just.
Was there a pit? Yeah. Was there a pit?
I don't think there was really a pit at this venue. I've seen them at other shows where there definitely is a pit. Cool. But this one it's structured a little bit differently. It's like an amphitheater, and there's like standing in the front, but all those people probably paid like, $1,000 to stand up there. So no one's like throwing fists or anything like that. But we did see them like a year and a half ago in this warehouse. It was the Scottsdale bike roundup. So it was like a bunch of bikers and stuff. And it was literally just an open warehouse with Megadeth on stage. I shit you not. There was probably only like 2,000 or 3,000 people there, which to me for a Megadeth show is like intimate, like we were pretty close,
That's an intimate, that's like that's a really unique way to see them too. Like not many people have a story like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. I figure most times they play, it's, some stadium with 20,000 people or whatever the hell,
Metallica came by here in the stadium show, and the tickets were crazy prices. I was like, no. I was like,
did they play the Raiders stadium, or did they do the Sphere?
Did they do Allegiant? It was something out here.
I think it was Allegiant. That might be the Raiders stadium. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I was like, it was like a 2-day event, and I was like, is that for both days? I'm like, I don't think it is. I'm like, damn.
They did that here too. They did the 2-day thing here. Yeah. It's just man, they were just massive as far as the ticket sales go and the album sales. Like they definitely rule the roost. They are the Mickey Mouse of metal. They're the most recognizable. Even kids that were born in the 2000s wear the shirt and listen to them because of Stranger Things now. So there you go.
I liked seeing the actor who played that guy.
Eddie?
Yeah, he was hanging out with Metallica. I thought that was awesome. I was like, that's really cool. I like how like Stranger Things is very 80s. I just like how they brought back all the old school like looks and music, and
that first season I really loved. I didn't really enjoy the second season, so I never went back. But everyone tells me that this third season was really good. But yeah, that first season just gave me all the, Goonies, Halloween 3 kind of feels like all smushed together. Like it reminded me a lot of Halloween 3.
I was getting
music, the whole the secret organization that was like up to no good. The drunk ass cop was sort of like Dr. Chalice.
I can see that.
Very kind of similar vibes. Of course, the John Carpenter sounding music, which are you guys big fans of? Like I love that kind of stuff, that synthwave stuff.
You guys that? I love it.
Yeah, spooky, sexy. It's funny because it's like it makes it like with how many synthwave bands there are out there, like the Midnight, and then there's that like Dream Kid guy that does a whole bunch of stuff. You would think that all the music in the 80s sounded like that, and it's like no. It really didn't, but that music makes us feel like we're back in the 80s. It's kind of a wild thing.
That's true.
When we hear it now, we're like, bro, that's so 80s.
Yep, for sure. So like all the big hair and everything like that too. I mean, that certainly was a thing. I have 4 older siblings, so I have vivid memories of being a little kid in the 80s and being like, what's with all the hair? The big ass hairspray all over the place. Lots of teal and pink.
There was a lot of metalheads in the Deathray family.
Not even just metal, just the chicks, man. There's just chicks with the big goofy curls and everything.
The hairspray, the 80s hair. It's good stuff. The Linnea Quigley look.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Oh my gosh, Linnea Quigley. But between her and Barbara Crampton and Judy Aronson. I mean, just, you know, ruined me for everybody else.
I met Barbara Crampton a few years ago. She's still like beautiful, dude. Like she doesn't age. Elvira, same thing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you? I don't even know how old she is, but she's older now and she looks great. Like she doesn't age.
Yeah, I met Barbara Crampton this last December, and I was I was a nervous wreck. Absolutely nervous. Just yeah, like you said, she still looks great, and I was just like, can you sign my picture? Can I get a picture taken with you? And I tried to be sweet and suave like Cody Snyder in the chat. He's always, if you follow him on Insta, he's always resting his head on the shoulders of all these, you know, hot final girls from the 80s. I rested my head on Barbara Crampton's shoulder, and I think she was like, bit too much, bud.
Oh, dude.
Like,
Linnea quickly gave me a kiss on the cheek for a picture. I thought that was awesome. But
die a happy man after that.
No, she was at a convention for like a weekend, and like every day she had a new dress. So I was like, I gotta get a picture in this dress now. So I waited online like all 3 days, and by day 3, she like remembered me, and she goes, "All right, this autograph's on the house." She gave it to me for free because I came up to her. So I thought that was so sweet of her. I was like, "That's awesome."
That's amazing. And she recognized that. She was like, "I've seen your mug in the line the last 3 days. Here's a little something for free."
Yeah, she didn't have to do that. I thought that was really cool. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's awesome. And then Cody's giving his little, yeah, we know what you're up to, Cody. You just, this guy.
So Cody's he's a straight up player, you're saying, with the ladies.
Chicks dig it. Chicks dig the Cody.
What's going on, Cody?
And so, Rob, I've got a question for you because we have the question for Kaylee.
Shoot.
So I'm curious to know because, you know, when you were on Real Talk, you were asked about your favorite horror movie and favorite non-horror movie. And you talked about Halloween and then you talked about the Terminator. So I have kind of a double question thing here. You know, so when Michael Myers makes his inevitable return, we know that at some point Michael's going to come back, right? What kind of story do you want to see when Michael returns to the big screen?
That's a great question. Wow, I'm floored by that.
Like, do you want a reboot? Do you want to see a similar story in a different era of time? Like, do you want him to be grown up from the very beginning and we never see anything else?
I would be interested in either. I say close the door between Laurie Strode and Michael. That's been. I say tell me another storyline. Either tell me maybe Michael as a kid.
Bring back Corey.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah, she has a crush on Corey. Oh, dude.
Who doesn't?
Corey saw a review, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was wild. Yeah, a friend of ours met him, and he mentioned us. I was like, what? And,
Rowan Campbell? He's such a sweetheart. Met him at H45, and he was just amazing.
Nice.
He had a nice, big, fat line of people waiting for him, and he was just super friendly. I mean, everyone was awesome there, but that was one signature we got a signature and a picture. My wife was super pumped to meet Rowan, of course. You know, chicks dig it.
He seems like a sweet guy, dude.
Yeah, very sweet for sure.
There was a convention we couldn't make.
H45.
Yeah. Was it H45?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so a buddy of ours was there, and he bought us an autographed picture, and he goes, "Can you make it out to that horror couple?" And he's signing it. And my friend's filming this, so I saw the video. He looks up. He's like, "Aren't they on YouTube?" I was, and he goes, "What?" And that like made my day. I was like,
"Oh yeah."
I was like, what? So it was nuts, dude. Then I had to rewatch it. I was like, I hope it was a good video. I was like,
God, I hope we said really nice things about his performance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would have kissed more. I would have kissed a lot more ass if I knew he was watching. You know.
Well, it was really cool to get to meet him because, you know, especially at that convention, you didn't sense any of the weird, like there was none of that divisiveness about ends. Like the cool thing about the convention is you realize that like everyone's there to celebrate those people and celebrate the franchise. Mm-hmm. And so there was no like weird vibes surrounding that, even though, you know, there's probably people there that didn't really dig the movie, but it was awesome to get to meet him and just, you know, I was mesmerized from the very beginning of the film, and his performance was one of the things that like really sucked me into the movie. So it's cool to tell people that, you know, because I'm sure they hear it all the time, but acting can't be easy stuff. And especially when you're jumping into a franchise like Halloween, which he actually is a massive fan of. And when he auditioned, they used a fake title. So he just came in and auditioned for this role and had no idea. And then David called him and told him what it really was. And he was like, oh my God, I've been a Halloween fan like my whole life, you know? So
amazing.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's cool to hear. He had a line of people like waiting to see him too. Like you just said,
Oh yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, there was tons of love for everything. That's why one of my big things is like I really want Paul Rudd to come out for the 50th because he sort of like poo-poos his you know, contribution and that film in general. But I think like it's like, dude, Paul, if you came out to H50, everyone would the love would be on display for your portrayal of Tommy. Like people would be getting pictures of Tommy Doyle signed. It wouldn't be, yeah, there'd probably be a couple Ant-Man people or whatever, but most people would be there for that role specifically. And like, if I know horror fans, there are people that's their favorite film in the franchise, and his version of the character is their favorites because that's the way horror fans are. They gravitate towards, you know, all over the place, like you said. So
I remember something about 6 though. Like before it was released officially, there was a producer's cut version that was like underground and hard to find. I had to go to a convention and try to get it like a burnt copy of this like alternative version of part 6. It was called the producer's cut and it had like a different it had like a different ending and it had like different parts in it.
Yeah.
And nowadays everything's like released and everything's streaming, but I kind of miss the day. I kind of miss the days when like you had to hunt down like a copy of a rare film. And for me, it was like going to a horror convention and like going to the vendor's room and like you would track down like this rare movie. And I'm like, dude, I got a copy. And looking back on it now, it was like terrible quality. It was like, it was very, it was very grainy, but like, it was just a thrill of like, yo, like, I got a copy, dude. Like, you know, and I
remember I heard about that cut forever. And then one day I was at an FYE or whatever the heck it was. And I was like sifting through the bargain bin and just saw a producer's cut on Blu-ray. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, I've been hearing about this forever. Didn't even know it was out. And here it is for like $12. And I'm like, all right, I'm buying that. I really like the producer's cut too.
Yeah.
You know, not everything works, but like, I think the music is so much better. To me, it feels more like a Halloween film. It has that that original movie feel.
The whole druid angle I thought was better explained in the producer's cut. The whole like the whole druid angle and like where Michael's evil comes from. The whole I thought it was better explained in that version. But
yeah, and you have Loomis giving the intro speech, which makes way more sense. Like in the theatrical, it's Tommy Doyle, but no one knows it's Tommy Doyle. It's just Paul Rudd with his weird accent, like when Michael Myers was 6 years old. It's like, what?
That was, dude.
What kind of accent is that?
You nailed that, dude. Well, also the ending. I think we hear Loomis scream at the end. We don't know why.
Yeah.
And the credits roll, but in the producer's cut, the evil actually goes into Loomis at the end, and that's how the movie ends. And I'm like, what a better ending that is. I'm like, wow. I'm like,
yeah, he gets the curse of thorn.
Yeah, and he's like, no.
Now he has to be like Michael's guardian or whatever in some bizarre way. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mess of a film, but there are things I really like about it. You know, I like the mask. I like, you know, especially the producer's cut. I like the tracking shots of Kara walking around the college campus and around the house. It just sort of makes me, you know, reminisce of the original 78 version. And I like it.
It's very October.
I like all the Halloween decorations in the movies. Those are always super Halloweeny.
How about John Strode, just the biggest asshole in all of horror history? Like, what an amazing performance. Like that performance, he's just soaking it all up, you know.
He's so believable too. Like you're like, is this guy like this in real life?
We were like rooting for Michael to kill that guy. We were like, get him. We were like,
make his head explode. Come on, do it.
His head exploded, didn't it? It did, yeah.
In the theatrical cut, it does, and in the producer's cut, it doesn't. So it's like, you know, you can have that perfect. I think Lee from Drum Dums did a little bit of a like his own cut where he sort of mixes the things, and that's kind of the way to go. You know, it's a fun little, again, another dive into the choose your own adventure, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the other part of my question that I had for you, Rob, with the Terminator. Now, I've been on this thing for a while because about 5 or 6 years ago, I watched both movies like one day after the other, the Terminator and then T2. And I realized T2 is just basically a remake. It's almost beat for beat the same exact story, just with a bigger budget and a different evil Terminator. You know, like some role reversal a little bit, but the beat of the action and the, you know, all the exposition of the story and all that are so similar. Have you ever noticed that? Or you, I would imagine you like the original Terminator more than T2. Is that right?
I do, even though I think there's more action in part 2. I just like the characters. Yeah. I like the characters better in the original. I like Michael Biehn as Reese. I like Sarah. I like, even though Sarah Connor's in the sequel, I like her as like somebody who's just finding out about all this, and she's like a freaked out Laurie Strode, you know. But like in part 2, she's a badass. She's like a Rambo or something. But yeah, I never thought of it being like a similar story. I always thought of it like, I guess John Connor like took over Reese's role, and then it's an interesting way to think about it. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's like if you put the movies, I'd be curious to like actually line up the timeline, you know, like drop the video into an editing program and look at the timeline and see when things match up, because it seriously is like chase scene, and then when they're getting away, it's in the first movie, it's Kyle telling Sarah what's going on. And then in the T2, you get Arnold being like, it's liquid metal. And like while they're driving away from the mental hospital and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, wow, they're very similar in the way that it's telling the story. And that's sort of like kind of a James Cameron thing. I mean, I know he did both movies, but it's a very James Cameron thing to be like, I'll just sort of do the same thing, but I'll put more effects and more money into it, and it'll just feel different, you know?
That's true.
I felt like the Terminator was more lovable in the sequel, though. There was like a little bit of comedy.
Oh, sure.
There was a little bit of comedy with like his one-liners, and like he was just like no problemo, and like he's like, you know, stuff like that, and like the Terminator in the original was honestly scary. So to me, it's a horror movie. I don't care. It's about a machine that kills people. Like, dude.
Yeah, the first third of it certainly has like Halloween vibes. You know, the music and the cinematography. Of course, they shot it in the same place that Halloween was shot. And I do think that the difference for me, like what I really love about the Terminator over T2 is Kyle Reese. I think that's like, there's just so much more heart there with him and Sarah than there is in any of the sequels.
We were at Days of the Dead, and we met Michael Biehn, Reese, and he was really nice, really cool guy. And I said to him, I was like, what was it like working with Arnold? And he's like, to tell you the truth, he goes, I wasn't around him that much. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, everything was shot separately. And he goes, if you think about it, he goes, we're not really ever seen together. He goes, and then at the end of the movie, the Terminator's a skeleton, and I'm like,
it's just stop motion.
I had to like play the movie that I've seen 100 times in my head. I'm like, you were never around him? I was like, he said they did like one scene together when he punched through the windshield, and that was it. He said, I saw.
Oh yeah.
He said I saw
in the alleyway.
Yeah, he said we did like one thing together, and then I didn't see him after that. He said so.
That's wild.
I wasn't really around him. He had his wife with him, who's also an actress, and she was super cool too. But yeah, he's a very nice guy, and Kaylee likes him from Aliens. And,
I love Aliens.
So he did a lot.
He should have been a
stuff.
Way bigger star. Like I think
so
like,
too. Yeah.
When I watch him in especially Terminator and Aliens, I'm just like, why wasn't this guy like the biggest star back then? You know, he's just so charming, right? And he brings that human element. Like even in Aliens, like you just get, even though he and Ripley don't have very many moments together, you get this really nice chemistry from those characters. You can totally see that they're like sweet on each other, but they don't pour it on too thick. You know, it's just something that sort of exists. You know, he's the Marine with a heart of gold.
I agree. I love their scenes together too.
Didn't they just kill him off in 3 with
no
explanation? They were just like, oh, he didn't make it.
Not a 3 fan. No.
Yeah, he and Newt didn't make it. They died when the ship crashed or something.
Yeah.
What a terrible way to just like write him off. I was like, no.
3 is pretty nihilistic. It's a bummer. But it's funny because I have a lot of memories of watching that, because right when I had watched the original 2 movies, I was of the age where like 3 was just coming out. So I was like watching it on HBO and stuff like that. And so I've watched part 3 probably like 5 times as a kid, but don't really remember like thinking, oh, this movie's shit. Cause
right.
You know, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was watching all sorts of crap back then.
I'm curious when you see Romulus, I'm curious to see what you think about it though. Because There were a bunch of Easter eggs thrown in where like the fans would just be like, "Oh, dude," like stuff like that, you know. So
yeah,
I think
I'm looking forward to it for sure.
I'm pretty sure. John.
Yeah, Cody. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then he follows it up with, there's definitely that weird scene where he's like drinking in his office, and he's got the picture of her up, and he's like, "She's not my little girl anymore," and it's something
creepy
going on. Where
I never thought of it like that, but
I always thought he was off or weird to like want to be mad at her about the weirdest stuff, like how abusive he was. It was really strange.
Yeah,
so I guess it was a service Michael was providing. He wiped him out. So.
There you go. And Raymond says, "I love T2 way more than the OG, although the first one is really good." Yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's like Alien and Aliens, where it's it just sort of depends on kind of like what genre you prefer. Because like I prefer the original Terminator. I also prefer Alien over Aliens, just because I like that vibe more. You know,
it's probably technically a better made movie, but I just like the original better. Like I just, but I think T2 is probably better made, but I just enjoy the original.
Yeah, it's a technical marvel. I think that's the great thing about James Cameron. You know, he pushed just the technical side of filmmaking so far. You know, I mean, they basically created Photoshop for T2 to be able to do the T1000. So it's like stuff that no one was able to do before James Cameron did it. And then he kept on going with like Titanic by actually going to visit the damn ship, and then everything with Avatar. It's like, even if you don't like the movies that much or the stories they're telling, it's like, I respect the hell out of the guy for just what he's done. You know,
it's a hell of a journey for sure.
Yeah,
all the stuff
I love Titanic.
Well, can we see some low budget or like a lower budget film? Something of Galaxy of Terror.
Oh, Galaxy of Terror. We
Joe
watched
Bob.
recently. That was
Joe Bob just showed.
Star Wars ripoff. They said it was. I liked it.
No, but he said James Cameron was involved in that.
Yeah, he was like an assistant.
He was a set designer.
Oh yeah,
And I think he even used some of the corridors of the ship or something. He ended up using in a different film later on. But yeah, that was like one of the first movies he ever worked on. And I heard he was like worked his ass off on that movie and wasn't even the director. I mean, he's just that kind of guy.
He's he's like passionate about it, you know, like.
I've seen that Galaxy of Terror because I think they made fun of it on Mystery Science Theater 3000. I don't know if you guys are fans of Mystery Science Theater or not. Have you ever seen that show?
No, I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's where they watch bad movies and make fun of them, and you like see the little theater seats on the bottom of the screen.
Oh,
and it's like the guy and the two robots, and it's silly. But it's like my favorite show of all time.
Yeah. Was it on Adult Swim?
I don't think it wasn't Adult Swim. Originally, it was Comedy Central, and then it went over to Sci-Fi, and then now they've been on Netflix lately.
I remember coming across that once in a while. Yeah.
Language, Cody. Language.
Cody he means
I'm right
business.
there with Cody. I do not like that movie.
Hey,
I need to watch it again just to see, because it's like I haven't seen it since whatever year it came out. Like, I don't know, what was it, 91 or 92 or something? Like, that was the last time for sure.
You plan on watching Romulus eventually, though. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wanted to go see it. It's just it just didn't work out. So I mean, there's still time, but maybe I'll find one of those special websites where I can check it out. I picked my spots with movies this year, so it was like I knew I wanted to see Longlegs in the theater because it just the way that it was shot and everything just looks so beautiful to me that I wanted to see that.
Did you get a 7 vibe from that, or was it just me? I got like 7.
A little bit of that, yeah, for sure.
Because they were showing up like after the crime, and I was like, "This is 7." I was like, "This is so 7." Not like a ripoff, but it gave me vibes. Like,
yeah, for sure. And everyone mentions, Silence of the Lambs because it's got that whole like FBI, investigation kind of vibe, the female lead, all that sort of stuff. So I definitely got that. I even thought, like, to me, it sort of looked like a Wes Anderson movie. The guy that did like Royal Tenenbaums and all that stuff. Like, just the way that it was shot kind of had this really thoughtful, like, Osgood Perkins shoots movies in a way that just no one else like really has movies that look like that. There's just something off and something eerie about it.
I also love how Nick Cage has just been doing like really bizarre stuff the last couple of years. Like kind of like outside the box for him, like with like Willy's Wonderland and like
Yeah.
like Mandy, and like just out there movies that I think it's great. I just think it's great.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a Cage-a-sance, you know, over the last like 7 years or so, where he's just doing whatever he wants, and it's like it's wild, and it's like every movie that he does is working, you know. It all, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets nominated for Longlegs. Like him and Micah Monroe were absolutely amazing in that movie. It was a movie that like when Kate and I drove home from it, I was like, I don't know if I need to have it in the collection. I'll probably like watch it again when it comes out or whatever. And she was like, yeah, me too. And then the next day we woke up and we were like, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about that movie, you know?
I felt that way about In a Violent Nature. Like not a lot of people liked it, but I loved like the atmosphere, and it was very like campground horror to me. And I was like I loved like the whole like setting. So yeah, I bought that on streaming immediately. Yeah. Kaylee was like, "No, I hate it," and I'm like, "No, it's not."
I didn't hate it. I'm not a fan.
we were arguing in that video, like
it seems like that's a little bit of a coin flip kind of movie for some people too, where it's like either you like the concept and the concept is enough, or you're sort of like, why does it have to be all the walking all the time?
Yeah.
You know?
No, it was kind of like if Friday the 13th was real, like it would take the killer a while to get to you, and like he would have he'd have to hang out for a little while. And I just took it like that, like, oh, this is realistic.
Friday the 13th as a walking sim video game, right?
Yeah.
It was very video game-ish, yes. It was cool.
It has that Resident Evil 4 camera, you know, like the
dude
behind and above.
I literally just
finished
beat that game
a couple months ago. It's so weird you brought it up.
Yeah. That is like my favorite game of all time. I mean, I'm a big old school gamer, but man, fucking Resident Evil 4. Oh my God.
I grew up on Resident Evil, and this is before like YouTube and the internet. And I'm sure you know, it was like we had to combine the key to get this key to open this door, and like it was just trial and error. And like nowadays it's so easy because you go to YouTube, you get a walkthrough, you follow everything. I had to read like GameSpot magazine back in the day, and like go to the mall and like get like read tips, and I'm like, oh, it's that door, okay, it's that door I got to go through. I'm like,
that's how it was. Yeah, when I was a kid, it was like you either got the Nintendo Power, or there was like the one kid that was just the video game whiz, and he like knew all the stuff. He probably just had all the, you know, issues of Nintendo Power. But you know, with like there were games like the big one when I was a kid. Of course, the Zelda games are really, you know, there's a whole bunch of mystery in those games to have to figure out, especially back in the Nintendo days where stuff didn't really make sense and all the translation problems. But man, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, that was the game where like you had to have help from Nintendo Power, because that game is such a mystery. I don't know if you guys have ever played it, or have you ever watched the Angry Video Game Nerd on YouTube?
That guy's fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, so that was one of his first videos when he did his original videos he just put them on VHS and gave them to his friends. They convinced him to put it on YouTube, but I think Simon's Quest was his very first one, just like ripping into it for just how bizarre it was.
I like how he goes into like the old school, like even like before like Nintendo, he does like the Ataris and stuff I didn't even know existed, like the Texas Chainsaw game.
That's crazy though.
There was
Halloween had a Atari game,
and I didn't know this stuff existed. I'm like, there was a Halloween game, and it's terrible. It looks terrible, but I'm like, oh, okay. I like Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That was a fun game.
That's a really fun one. Yeah, I'll never get over playing that one. It's like the original rhythm game. It's like Dance Dance Revolution, but with boxing, because like you have to like pick up on the cues. It's all about the rhythm of each one of the people you're fighting. And then it just gets more and more difficult. And damn, I mean, fighting Mike Tyson is like, just make it through the first round and you stand a chance. But
I never made it to Mike.
That's the trick.
I never made it to Mike. I made it to like
Macho Man, the guy before him.
Maybe, or it was like a Buffalo something. I forget.
There's Bald Bull.
Bald Bull.
I think I think the run up before Mike, I think it's Sandman, who's really tough.
I made it to Sandman, but
Sandman, Super Macho Man, and then Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I got knocked out by Sandman. I think I couldn't make it, but
he's tough.
I remember that guy with like the turban on his head, and he would just come around like.
Yeah, he had the little flashy, the flashy gem or whatever. Yeah.
But like
Soda Popinski, the guy that was
Glass Joe. Remember Glass Joe? How easy he was to knock out.
Glass Joe's just the easiest. Yeah.
King Hippo. Remember King Hippo with the bandage on his stomach?
Love King Hippo.
Yeah.
John Flamenco. I love them all.
I played video games as a kid, and then I stopped for like maybe like 15, 20 years. And then I went back to them recently, and I'm like, dude, video games are amazing today. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm like, it looks like real life. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, the stuff I grew up on, like, it doesn't even look the same.
I know.
Well, and it is cool. Like, the thing about video games is, you know, all those old games, to me, they're sort of timeless because
they're fun. Yeah,
they're an escape from like the real world. They're not meant to look like the real world, and I kind of like that about them. Like when I play those old like Mario platformers, or even something like one of the original first person, like going back and playing the old Doom game. Like I love those old Doom games. Dude, those are really
on
fun.
The computer, right? Yeah, that was a computer game.
Yeah, it was a computer, and then they put it on like the 32X. There's a really stripped down version of Doom on the Super Nintendo, but now like what I got is like the HD like collection on the Switch. So you can play like through all the first like 4 or 5 Dooms. I even have Doom 64 on there, which is really fun.
You ever play Wolfenstein?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Me and my brother used to play Wolfenstein, and like you walk around a machine gun and take out like a room full of people. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're fighting the Nazis, kicking some ass. Yeah,
there's like evil dogs coming after you too. I remember
there are those damn Nazi dogs. How do they know how to hate? How do they know how to hate?
It was taught. Hate is taught. It's not.
It's true. It's true. Yes.
Yeah. They were trained now.
I mean, I remember playing, Double Dragon, the friggin' Ninja Turtles arcade game, and I was like a Sega kid after the original NES, so I played, the Golden Axe games and Sonic and all that stuff. So, just a total video game nerd. But man, life fills up with a whole bunch of other stuff, and now if I play video games a few times a year, I'm lucky.
But there's great horror games nowadays, and I'm like blown away. It feels like you're in a horror movie. Like we played Quarry. Yeah. We played this game Quarry. It was like a slasher film, and like we were like in the middle of it. I'm like, this is fantastic. There's another game called Days Gone where I'm killing zombies from nowadays. I mean, there's so many good stuff out. Like horror, like in the horror genre of video games, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it is. And then even, now that we've got, they put out those they're putting out the side scroller Halloween and Evil Dead.
I saw that. Yeah.
And then it sounds like we're going to get something that's sort of like what you're describing. That'll be like a Michael Myers kind of game that will be more of that like real life. Cause I know they're working on another Halloween game. So that would be an interesting. If they make a Halloween video game, do you want it to be sort of like that Friday the 13th game where like you can play as Michael, or maybe you're like a babysitter? Like what kind of Halloween game would you guys want to play? And Kaylee, are you a gamer?
A little bit. I tried to play the first, the Jedi one, not the one that came out recently, but the first one. And I can't get past the first level because I keep falling off the spaceship. So I give up and give Rob the remote, and he plays his game.
Yeah, that's what she means by a little bit. She dies.
Yeah, I just keep dying. He's
so
like,
she coaches you.
Yeah.
I also I love the Grand Theft Auto games. I think they're so fun.
Oh, those are fun. Yeah,
dude, I just love like doing gangster stuff and like.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I remember the first time playing Vice City where I found this spot in one of the parking garages where like the cops could not figure out how to get to me. They just kept on crashing into each other, and I would just sit there and use the friggin' rocket launcher and just shoot down helicopters and just cause mayhem. And then I would do the code to get rid of all the stars. And then they start walking away, and then I just like blow them all up again.
Yeah. Dude, those games were so fun.
I remember that now that you bring that part up. That was like really anxiety inducing trying to like run from them if you didn't have the cheat code or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I always got caught.
Yeah. It's a blast. And especially with the Vice City, like the soundtrack is so good. I played. What was it? 5 was the first one where you could really be like first person.
I think so, but I remember there was certain ones with like 80s rock in it. It was like they had "Come On, Feel the Noise." They had like, or they had Twisted Sister. I remember.
That's Vice City because it's supposed to be in the 80s, so they had like a flock of seagulls, like and I run so far away. Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I play some hip hop sometimes because I feel tough, like doing missions, playing hip hop real loud in my car.
That's probably San Andreas with the hip hop, right?
Yeah. Yeah, GTA is a good time though, for sure.
Oh my God!
Oh, they're making a part 6, so it should be pretty incredible when it comes out. But.
Hell yeah! T. Parker Evans says, "I'd love a first-person Halloween game like Alien Isolation, where you're hiding from Michael in different locations, like his house."
Well, to answer your question, I think I'd rather be running from Michael. It's just more exciting that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Like it's fun. It would be fun to be the killer and just hack people up. But I think there's more of a game if you're hiding the whole time and you're like, oh.
Maybe the campaign is hiding from Michael, and maybe there's an unlockable. So after you beat the game and beat the regular campaign, they unlock a mode where you can be Michael, and you're like, all right, you're Michael for 10 minutes, kill as many people as you can.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
They had a Texas game that I thought, I didn't play it, but it looked pretty good from what I saw. Like,
I heard I heard that game was really fun, but then after a while, you're just sort of like, okay, like I've done it now,
I didn't stick around that long, but I looked at it and I'm like, oh, this looks a lot like the movie. I'm like, they actually did a pretty good job at like recreating the movie. So I was like, that's
and I think they got in that game, I think like Scout Taylor Compton did some of the motion capture for one of the victims.
Very cool.
Laurie Strode from the Rob Zombie movies, and then I think they used
amazing.
Barbara Crampton for one of the characters as well.
Very cool.
She's super cool.
Damien Maffei from Strangers Pray at Night was in there as well.
That's a great sequel. That's a great sequel. I love Pray at Night.
Yeah, I am hoping I can get him here in October. I'm just see what happens here.
Cool.
Did you spill the beans about a secret guest on our episode?
It's nothing is set in stone, but it's a possibility. And it sounds like even if it doesn't work out for spooky season, then maybe it could work out somewhere down the line. It's crazy. Like when I had I didn't even have 300 subs yet, but I did the Black Christmas movies last December, and I had posted I follow him on Insta. I don't know if he was following me at the time. But when I shared the thumbnail for my review of the original Black Christmas, he subbed to the channel and left a comment, and I was just at that point I was like, I just want 300 by the new year, and then it was just crazy to see people like Damien Maffei jumping in being like, I love this movie and it doesn't get enough love, it needs more, and I'm just like, oh my god, dude.
Dude,
that's amazing.
That kind of thing is the best when that happens. It makes your whole day. You're like, yeah, dude.
It's wild. I mean, even when at the beginning, I'm sure you guys experienced this kind of thing, seeing Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards throw a sub. That to me was he was one of the first guys that I watched. Him and Lee were two of the first YouTubers that I made me really want to do this thing. So it was just gnarly to see stuff like that, where I was like, man, it feels like I have 1 million subs now just because Wolfman's Got Nards follows me.
No, I understand, because these people become friends with us, but we were fans of their channel. I used to watch people I used to watch. We know who each other are now, and that's pretty wild. So I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, being on Lee's channel the other week, I was like, dude, this is completely surreal because I've been watching you for 8 years.
That's so cool.
And it's just nuts now that we're talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 together. What the hell? What is life?
Lee's one of those channels where I pretty much always agree with him. I'm like, I feel the same way. I'm like,
yeah, I'm right there with you. Very rarely are we not on the same page. And sometimes it just kind of works out like that, where you sort of, you're sort of in sync with somebody in that regard, for sure. And man, it's just doing this for 13, 14 months. It feels like, I know it's a grind and all that stuff, but it's I would imagine maybe you guys can, resonate with this, that the interactions you get from everyone, and just putting the videos together just sort of fuels you. It's like when I get done with a video or a live stream, I'm like, what's next? It's like you get addicted.
Oh, yeah.
Like I gotta chase that rush, you know?
It's also it is addicting, because if we don't make a video in a little while, I'm antsy. I'm like, I got to do something. I'm like, I need something to talk about. Like if it's like a slow week or a slow couple weeks, I'm like, dude, let's just like we started doing this thing where I'm like, let's just react to spooky TikToks, because I thought that was a cool idea, but no one thought it was a good idea but me. So
I liked it. We just didn't get a lot of views.
We didn't get a lot of views on that one, but I thought it was a cool idea. Like,
I thought it was like supernatural stuff on
like,
TikTok,
like haunted places on TikTok. We were like checking out. Like, I thought it was a cool thing, but
sometimes you just gotta be like, fuck it, I want to do this thing. We're gonna do it. You know, I think that's like the tightrope you walk, right? It's like, of course you want the engagement. You want to make sure that it's like worth your time, because, you know, most people that are on YouTube, it's their free time that they're using. So you don't want it to just be like pissed away and all that stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like you have to be satisfied with your creative work as well. I think that's a big thing about something that I took away from the music side of being creative, was like, I want to enjoy the songs. Like, I don't want to just like write something that I think is going to get a record deal. Like, I want to be satisfied as well from it. And so you just kind of gotta, you know, pick your spots. But I mean, for me, it's huge for mental health. Like it keeps me right.
It's an outlet for sure. And like back to your point, like I guess what I always tried to do is try to make something that I would like to watch. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if I'm having fun, then I think other people would have fun. And you know, and if someone's going to take the time to tune in and watch what I do, I want them to be humored or have a good time with it. You know, I don't want to be bored. I have a fear of like somebody being bored around me, I guess. So, you know,
well, and it seems like you just have that kind of personality. So it's like, to me, it's like, how do you let the true you out, you know, in the best possible way that feels natural, because people can pick up on that, right? And
and that's the worst, when you're not that's the thing, you got to like develop your own style, and at first you don't know what to do, so that it's like a weird thing. So you're like, should I be professional, should I just stick to the facts? And then I think we realized pretty early, I'm like, we're not professional, so I'm just like, let's just not be professional. And I'm like, maybe that will just make us different. And I'm like, so and that's what I like, because I'm a fan of like all these other channels, but I'm like, we could talk about the same movie and the review will come out totally different. Like it'll just be a different vibe, different feel. And you know, I think that's kind of cool, and developing your own style is like part of the fun, you know. So I love your style, though. The late night style is awesome. Oh my god,
yeah. When you reached out, we started watching your stuff. I'm like, he's so good,
dude. I'm like, he's got a good show, and I saw all my friends on it, so I was like, I that's awesome. I'm coming on, because when we first started, you know, we were pretty like, you know, I don't know, I guess self-conscious about it. And then Ken from Sledgehammer Horror hits me up, and he's like, I want to interview you, and I'm like, wait, you want to interview me? And I'm like, me. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, me. And he goes, yeah. So I was like, okay. And he's like one of my good friends to this day. Like we collabed a bunch of times, but I remember that was the first time someone reached out to us and wanted, just like gave a crap about what we were doing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's wild. I mean, and really, it's like, you can get a nice camera, you get a nice microphone, and then you just sort of like let your personality flash, you know. And I had the same kind of thing when I was doing like, every now and then I still do like pre-recorded reviews and stuff like that. And I got to that point where I was like, am I being too jokey, or people are gonna think I'm being mean about it? And then it just sort of, depending on the movie, it was like when I did Valentine. That fucking movie Valentine with David Boreanaz. Oh my god. Have you guys seen that movie?
Valentine.
I've seen
from 2001.
Yeah.
We watch it on Valentine's
Denise Richards in it, right?
Yeah, it is awful. Like
is that
and I was like, I didn't want to be too mean about it, but I was like, this movie, like this one actress, every time she was on camera, her face, she's making these weird, and I'm like, who the hell told this bitch to do this thing? And then David Boreanaz, I'm like, dude, you're the most boring actor. I think I called him David Boreanaz, more like David boring all of us. like dude, no charm at all.
My thing is too, like we always try to stay positive, and I like to talk about stuff I'm into. So like usually, if we don't like a film, I'm not gonna bother making a video. But if it's something I'll never trash somebody's indie film or like a project they worked hard on. I will never do that. Like if they have a low budget and they're working hard and they're doing it, I'm not gonna pick on that film. But if it's like a major release, like they had, that I went to the theaters to go see, and it's like Imaginary, or it's Night Swim, or it's something what was that tarot card movie that I want? Tarot.
Oh, those three, yeah, dude. Those were. Tarot wasn't as bad as the first two.
I'm like, dude, I'm like,
still not good.
I'm like, are they even I just those movies. I rarely get like that. Usually, I could be like, well, I like this, I like that, and I try to be positive, but like, I want to get into it so bad, and when I'm let down, I'm like, oh, dude, no.
Yeah, and like honestly, like I think Valentine is like bad in an entertaining way. Like
I was gonna say, I like watching it during like Valentine's season, like near that time. I usually watch that one. I like it, but I see what you mean. It is kind of bad.
Kaylee and I were leaving the theater after like Imaginary, Night Swim, films we didn't like, and I'm like, I didn't like that film, but I'm like, it's gonna make for a good video, though. I just thought that I'm like, it's gonna make an interesting review. I'm like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking watching Valentine and then the 2019 Black Christmas, which is
we've seen that once, and we went to the theater. We've never seen it again, so I don't even really remember.
They basically just borrowed the name. Basically, it had nothing to do. It had nothing.
Nothing to do with Black Christmas. It's more, they should have just called it Slay Girls or whatever the heck that they put on the poster.
I thought, thank you, Raymond, or whoever.
Yeah, it was Raymond.
Thanks so much. It's always
Raymond likes Valentine. More power to you. I'll do a watch party on it this next Valentine's Day. We'll bring you guys on and we'll just rip it to shreds. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I don't mind ripping it to shreds if it's like a famous actor and they're very successful. Like, but if it's some guy trying to make a film, I'll always have their back. You know what I mean? Because like,
for sure,
it's same thing with music. Like, I don't mind shitting on a mainstream band, but if it's like a local band, you kind of feel for them. You know what I mean? You're like,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I guess like when it comes to something like Valentine, it's like, so it's 2001. It's, well after Scream had hit, and it seems like they're still trying to do like a cash grabby kind of thing. And it just seems so safe. Like, I loved the way that the Cupid killer looks. And there's a couple scenes in that movie where the tension was really nice, but I'm like, you're making a PG-13 horror pretty much. Like, you're not ever really showing us the goods. And the weirdest thing about Valentine is like, they were so sure that they were going to have a sequel, because when they do the killer reveal, the movie just ends.
Yeah.
So the final girl we never have that moment where she realizes he's the one with the bloody nose and he's been the killer. It's such an odd choice just to like cut the camera there and be like, it's over. And it's like, what? Like, we should have had a whole scene where he goes on his like diatribe about why he did what he did and all that kind of stuff. It would have been great.
I prefer.
It does end quite abruptly. I remember that. It's like nose starts bleeding. You're like, it is him, and then it's like over.
And that's it. You don't get the Billy Loomis, like, your mom was flashing her shit all around town like she was sharing stuff. No fucking motivation talk. Just like, I have a bloody nose and I'm David Boreanaz. It's like, women think I'm pretty and that's all that matters. No, acting well matters too.
Yeah. Usually on Valentine's Day, we do the My Bloody Valentine watches, but I also like Hospital Massacre from 1981.
I haven't seen that one.
Hospital Massacre. Barbie Benton.
It's also called X-Ray. Barbie Benton, the Playboy bunny, was in it.
Mm-hmm. Does it take place around Valentine's Day?
Yeah, it takes place on Valentine's Day, and she's stuck in a hospital, and it's called Hospital Massacre, and I usually check that out because I like the film, and if it's a holiday themed film, it gives me an excuse to watch
for sure. I totally have missed that one, so I'll have to give it a shot and review it next year. I mean, the original My Bloody Valentine. I really like that one. I think the remake is like kind of fun for what it is, but it's nothing.
I did like how they flipped it. They flipped who the killer was, and I felt like that. I felt like that was done just for the fans of the original. Like
you got to keep it. You can't do the same thing, right? It'd be.
It's like, oh, you think you know the ending? Well, guess what? And then they flipped like who the killer was. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
that was during the whole 3D thing that happened. Like every movie that came out,
I
that
like the remake a lot.
2009, everything was like 3D.
yeah. I saw that one in the theater. I just remember thinking like, I think it's Tom Atkins when he gets like the pickaxe like through the bottom of his chin, and then it gets ripped out and it like flies at the screen. It was just totally wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that one has such a like CW kind of vibe, you know, like all the actors are kind of like TV actors and not really ever really like Jensen Ackles, like God bless him. He's very handsome. I know if Alley Girl is there in the chat, she's probably you know, swooning over him right now. But as an actor, I don't know, man. I don't think he brings it. I just don't think he's got the goods.
But he's eye candy, man.
He is eye candy. And the movie is very entertaining. Really, the scene where the one woman's just running around naked for like 10 minutes was just so bizarre to me.
That was
I'm just
really
like,
weird.
okay.
I'm like, you didn't think to
it's fantastic.
Try to cover anything.
I like how she didn't care she was naked. She's like, give me that videotape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's just standing there naked. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm like,
She's bush and all, just running out into the parking lot.
Yeah.
Just
now I want to watch it. Rob, have you ever been to a meet? No. Oh, it's coming to Vegas this year, so I'm gonna try to. So, CM Punk logos. That's awesome. I like that. But yeah,
what does BITW mean?
Best in the world. Best in the world. CM Punk.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh no. WrestleMania is coming to Vegas, so I'm absolutely gonna try. But you know, it's like the Super Bowl. It's like I know the tickets are gonna.
I don't know how that's gonna work.
$1,000.
But
yeah,
we'll probably end up watching it on Peacock.
The tickets are probably gonna sell out in 5 minutes, and they're gonna be like more money than everything I own is worth.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
gonna be.
I'm gonna try
price,
though.
yeah.
I'm gonna try. Cody Schneider, cool guy though. Cool guy.
Yeah, thank you for the 2, Cody. Yeah, Cody and I got to meet at H45. It was an absolute blast because we got to know each other in like the Dave McRae chat. Is how Cody and I got to know each other. So,
did you see? Is he his fan film?
It's Me Billy.
Yeah, it's Me Billy. That was fantastic. Speaking of Black Christmas, I like his fan film. I thought that fan film was great.
Oh, it's gorgeous, and the second part's coming out here in just over a month on October 11th, the same day that Terrifier 3 hits theaters. It's Me Billy Chapter 2 is going to be here on YouTube, available for everyone to watch for free.
That's exciting.
That location of the house, I swear, he couldn't have picked a better. I'm like, I know it's not the house, but it could have been. You know what I mean? I'm like, he picked a good house. I'm like,
yeah,
it looked like the original house. So
well, and it's what's really cool about fan films, and like we're in this era, like, you know, you were talking about, you know, people kind of doing the DIY thing and, you know, making a film outside of the studio. I mean, so of course there's Vincent DeSanti with Womp Stomp and everything that they've done with Never Hike Alone and all that. And then, you know, Cecil Laird from the Horror Show channel with Dylan's New Nightmare. Have you guys seen that one?
We haven't seen
I keep
that.
hearing
we
about
need
it
to watch
though.
that one.
We got to get on that.
That is on it. It's on YouTube on the Horror Show channel, and Dave McRae plays Freddy in it, and it's amazing. Like his portrayal of Freddy, the makeup's really good. His voice is, I mean, and bringing back Miko Hughes from the original New Nightmare, and of course, you know, Kindergarten Cop and Mercury Rising and all those other movies he was in. But it's really cool to see him come back and have it be like a legacy sequel that has that connective tissue. And then, yeah, of course, like It's Me Billy. I mean, I think every year that goes by when I revisit Black Christmas, I fall more in love with it, and it creeps me out more and more every single time. And
it's underrated. It's very underrated.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of the best like slasher films ever. And like, I don't know. You know what's weird? I just don't like to watch it unless it's Christmas time because it doesn't feel right. But like, I feel like when I watch it, I'm like, this is like up there with Halloween. I swear to God. I'm like, I love this movie. But like Christmas, it has to be. I just feel more. I just feel like I should watch it only on Christmas. So
oh, for sure, yeah, because it really puts you there. Like those shots of Billy like climbing up the side of the house and everything. Those first person shots that just feel so like manic. Yeah. You know, the Christmas lights. The whole aesthetic is really awesome in Black Christmas. And there's multiple layers to that story. That's what I really like. And what's crazy is like at the end of the movie, like Claire's still up there, frozen, bag over her head. The cops never checked the attic. And then you hear the phone ringing, which means Billy is still there, and they've drugged Jess. Like they said that they gave her some injection to help her sleep or whatever. And I'm like, at the end of that movie, like she's toast. Like, you know, like Billy's going to kill her. And that's how the movie ends. And it's just like, oh man,
it's so creepy.
John Carpenter said that.
Downer,
didn't he say John Carpenter said that influenced him, that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Which I believe it, because like Halloween opens up with almost that identical point of view shot, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see where he got influenced by that. But
very similar vibes. And then I guess he and Bob Clark had talked, and you know, Bob Clark was like, well, if I ever made a sequel, I would have it happen on, you know, Halloween, and Billy, you know, does something on Halloween. Ooh. And so who knows like how much, if that even swayed, you know, if Carpenter was already going to do what he did. I mean, I think Halloween stands on its own enough. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some through lines there for sure.
Yeah, and it's an underrated. It predates Halloween, Texas Chainsaw. It predates. Oh, does it predate Texas Chainsaw?
It came out like the same day as Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah,
it was like it was that same, because I think. Well, wait, Texas Chainsaw. Yeah, because I think they both came out in '74. Right. Because October 11th is the Canadian release of Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas. So that's why It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 is coming out 50 years to the day. And I think Texas Chainsaw was like right around there. So, you know, they're being made at the same time.
It's definitely, but it was definitely ahead of its time. Like there was no film.
Oh my God, yeah.
At the time, there was no film like it. I mean,
no, and the stuff that Billy says on the phone is just like,
yeah,
very, very creepy. You couldn't even say, if you said that in a movie now, it would cause more of an uproar than it did back then.
Can we say
that's true?
Can we say it on the podcast right now?
No.
Even the stuff, you know, like it's similar to like The Exorcist. Like if you put that in a movie now and had like a little kid saying those things in a movie now, people would just fly off the handle.
They would.
Yeah. Well, but do you remember like, I remember seeing footage of like Silent Night, Deadly Night, all the soccer moms protesting that movie because they didn't like the trailer. Like they were outside the theater, and I'm like, nowadays people, I don't know if they would do that. I was like, that was kind of
They use online, like the internet.
Oh yeah, the keyboard people,
the keyboard people, the keyboard Karens.
Yeah,
you know, and you know there was what was it? It wasn't Silent Night. Was it Silent Night, Deadly Night? Is that the one that all the moms picketed back in the 80s or whatever? Yeah. They're like, you can't do this with Santa. And it's just like, oh my God, if only you guys could fast forward and check out Terrifier 3's
oh my God,
right. That just proves they didn't watch the film though, because the film isn't even like, it's a guy in a Santa suit. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
The whole thing is like, it's a silly
they saw the poster and that was it. They're like, oh my God, no way. Yeah.
I said in our trailer breakdown of Terrifier 3, I'm like, I wonder if I was wondering what the reaction was going to be. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be like that though.
No, people would just talk about it online. They wouldn't. I don't think they protest.
But
outside of the theater.
But Damien Leone says it's going to be even more out there than Terrifier 2. So I was like, oh, where is he going to go with this? So I'm like, because Terrifier 2, it had its moments where I was like, dude, I was like, that's kind of crazy. So I don't know how much further they can push the envelope, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as like Christmas goes, you know, they can certainly work in some of the religious imagery and do some shocking things, right?
Oh, dude, I never thought of that.
I just figure is the further that series goes, they're just going to push it more and more each time. But to me, like, I really didn't like the first movie. To me, is like barely a movie. I really enjoyed the second one. I thought the second one was like a lot more. Felt more like it had a real story. It had characters. There was like, it had heart in it. And like, and even though art is still, you know, abusively brutal, there was something a little bit more fun, I think, about the second one. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me.
he was dancing around, enjoying what he was doing.
I like the Clown Cafe, like whole segment of that movie. I think it's really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah. But I just didn't like the length of it. Part 2 was a little too, like, I just don't have like a slasher film going over 2 hours. I'm like, dude, I just like it. I like things quicker like that. Like I don't have the attention span.
I like that Jamie called the ads ass. Silent Night and that ass we're playing. Jamie, you're so adorable. Oh, and then she corrected herself here. There you go. All right.
Oh, typo.
Don't make me put you in timeout, Jamie. No.
She said,
yeah, I think it was the one that aired during the Super Bowl was the one that really pushed things over, where the moms started picketing because they had nothing else to do. Yeah. And I agree with you though, Rob, that Terrifier 2, like that was my biggest complaint, is that it is really long. And unfortunately, it sounds like this one's going to be pretty long too. I think the third one could be the best one. I was hoping for more like an hour 45, max, because I don't really need a slasher to be more than an hour 40. I was kind of pushing it for the genre.
It's like a punk song. Just keep it short and give it to me fast, and I'm good. I can't.
Yeah.
She loves the Guardians. I can't do it because it's like a 3-hour film. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's like we don't need the Terrifier Zack Snyder cut,
Yeah.
Like I just don't have the attention span, and I'm like, dude, 3 hours to watch anything is hard. I have trouble with Raw now. Like wrestling on Monday nights is 3 hours. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean that's a little, sports or sports entertainment. Maybe it because I love football, so I can sit there and watch a football game because it's constantly changing and it's not the same exact thing every time. But yeah, even I really love the Batman with Pattinson, but I've only watched it once because, geez, you have to break it up,
That's how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel about Terrifier. I loved it when I saw it in theaters. I'm like, this is a great movie.
We've watched it once.
Yeah, but now that we physically own the copy, I'm like, let's watch it. And I'm like, it is a 2-hour movie though, and I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, it's like 2 hours 18 minutes or something like that. It's just like, holy crap.
Yeah,
and then cut any of this out.
I gotta piss in the theater too. I gotta get up and I gotta I gotta miss some of the movie, and then I gotta be like, what happened?
That's what the worst thing about the theater. You're like, oh great, now I need to watch it again to capture the whole thing. That's one of the great things about just being able to watch at home. But
exactly,
I feel more comfortable watching it at home. I could pay attention more, and
I like watching stuff at home better too. Yeah,
when things are streaming, I'm like, hell yeah. But,
you can pause it, make a snack.
Oh yeah,
take a shower.
Yeah.
Home is where it's at.
Yeah.
I feel like that's common with horror fans. We don't leave the house much. We have our movies and we're happy at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. COVID, when the pandemic happened, it was great for horror fans because they got to stay inside watching movies and everyone started a YouTube channel.
There you go.
And that's the thing. Everybody was like, I can't go outside. And I'm like, it's basically the same thing for me because I just watch movies all day. So I was like, it's not that. It was a scary time to be around, but I was like, dude, it's
we're homebodies.
Yeah, we're homebodies. So I was like, we watch movies for fun. And that's the cool thing because even if we didn't have the channel, I think we'd still be checking out movies together and doing this in some way. So
for sure. Yeah, my wife and I, we're the same way where it's like, we plop down and around spooky season we've got our stable that we always go to and watch, but we always want to work in some new ones that we've never seen. I have a bunch of, even though I'm a huge fan of horror, I still have a bunch of blind spots, movies I haven't seen. I've got The Collector is on the list. I still haven't seen It Follows, which is on the list. Movies that I know everyone's like, oh my god, they're so good, you have to see them, and we're finally going to be getting around to them.
We have certain people where I think I know horror, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a horror guy, and then they name some obscure thing, and they're like, you ever hear of Christ Puncher? And I'm like, what? And it's some brutal movie, but
yeah,
I made up Christ Puncher. It's not a real thing.
now it's gonna be. Yeah, that's do you guys watch Sinister Cinema reviews?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I think I have. Yeah.
I think we
Jason he watches everything. He lives here in the same area that I do, and he watches everything, and it's just oh my gosh, that's it's inspiring, and also how overwhelming.
But, wait, so his channel goes to all different genres, movies.
I think it's mostly horror, but it's every
release, Rob. There's a lot.
Yeah, just
we miss stuff.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Just like the punk rock, there's different categories, there's different subgenres, there's different branches of the tree. So.
Yeah, he's I've watched 20 found footage horror movies this year, and it's I didn't even know there were that many. I thought there were 2.
That either. Yeah.
It's holy crap.
Oh, bro, you go to Tubi. Yeah, I agree with him. There's a Tubi has movies every day coming out, and dude, there's 500 Amityville horror movies now. I'm like, what's going on? There's Amityville Karen I saw. There's Amityville. I'm not even kidding. There's an Amityville Karen. because I think that name is like public to the public, so
Public domain.
a lot of people use it. Yeah. So.
Oh my God! Wasn't there was a movie that came out a couple years ago called Karen, and it was like so over the top, like it was seriously like this black family moves into a neighborhood and their garbage cans are like brought out like an hour too early, and the Karen is like, are you serious about that? Like,
Bro,
I just don't know if you guys really fit the neighborhood. It's like, oh, it's just so cheesy.
Wait, so do the Karens get killed off like one by one?
Well, I think what it is it's sort of like this Twilight Zone episode kind of thing where, you know, like the black family moves in thinking that everything's going to be fine. But then, of course, like this Karen is like just the most over the top, like, you know, sneaky racist ever, you know, like the worst version of anyone like that. But it just like, I don't know, watch the trailer because like it made me laugh a lot, like in a weird, awkward way.
but I want there to be a payoff where the Karen gets it. So
oh, I'm sure, right? That's got to be right where she takes it too far, and then somebody,
you can't harass the family without dying.
Yeah,
that's a rule.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and it also had kind of that vibe of like, you know, there's all those like sexy 90s thrillers in the early 90s where it's like, oh, they're like the hand that rocks the cradle. Like you hire someone to be the nanny of your baby and then she tries to like take your child away from you. That whole kind of like vibe of somebody like creeping their way into your life, you know, and sort of taking over.
Oh, that always
kind of like me with you guys when I visit you here in Vegas. Actually be driving up in just a couple hours.
Okay.
So.
You're welcome, dude. You got a place to hang out here.
Late night with the Davey guys.
It always bothers me though. Anything with kids or like babies or anything with animals, I'm like, don't kill the dog.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you know it's gonna happen.
No, but I'm like,
you see the dog, you're like, that dog's dead.
There's a couple exceptions. There was that alligator movie, The Crawl. I don't know if you've seen Crawl. It was like an alligator horror movie that came out a few years ago. There's a cute little dog in it, and I was like really anxious the whole time.
Oh, was that with the basement flooding? And,
yes.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm always like, that dog better live. Like you can kill like snotty teenagers, and I'm cheering you on. But like if you with the dog, I'm like, hell no. I'm like, that dog better live.
Well, man, Michael kills dogs, eats dogs,
but it wasn't brutal. Like it wasn't like, I don't know, that dog.
Well, in Rob Zombies it was.
Oh yeah.
He snacks on him in part 2 for sure. And then there's, I mean, the cat in Smile.
That turned that movie off for me. I didn't like it because like that part really bothered me. I was like, ooh,
I know we have 3 cats, so I'm very sensitive about all that.
Yeah, I don't like seeing that.
It's a deal breaker for you for sure. Because once I see that, I'm like, oh, Kaylee hates this movie.
Not every movie when something happens to a pet, but if I'm just okay about the movie and then something like that happens, I'm like, I don't like.
There's a movie called Humanoids from the Deep from like 1980. I love that film. I think it's a good film, and like, I hate the dogs dying in the beginning, but like every time I want to put it on, you're like, no, they kill dogs.
Even in The Thing, you know, when the dogs get killed by the Thing, and just the performances by those pups as they're like sneering, and it really tugs on it. It tugs on that part of humanity where you're like, we're supposed to protect these creatures, you know, and it's such a great. I mean, it is a great tool. It's very effective, especially in horror, to get you to feel something. Because, you know, that's important when you're watching a movie to feel something. But yeah, it's gut wrenching for sure.
It's definitely an effective way to, like, you know, get our attention, go after the animal. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. But... Well, and I think that's the reason why, like, there's the damsel in distress, right? Because it's supposed to trigger something in every guy's mind that's like, caveman has to protect woman, you know. It's a very base level kind of like reaction that it's supposed to get from us, you know. So you know, they're clever like that, the way that they use that in these movies. And you know, we were just speaking about, I know we're getting it, we've been talking for a couple hours now. It just sort of flies by.
We're just hitting it off here with
we're just getting started. Raymond Malaber earlier on in the chat had brought up a question that was sort of apropos to what we were talking about with the pandemic. He says, do you think Halloween Ends would have been a different movie if there wasn't the time gap brought on by the virus? Because originally I think they had something else written for Ends. They had planned to do it, but the fact that they had to push everything back sort of switched the whole way they approached it. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that they would have gone the Corey route, or would we have seen like a Halloween trilogy that all took place like in one day, basically?
It's a good question. I don't know. I would think with more time to prepare, they give you the story they wanted to.
Yeah, maybe they changed it, or it gave them time to change it around because it got, pushed off because of everything. I'm personally happy that they came out with the story they did because I love Halloween Ends, but I can understand why some people probably wanted it to be something completely different, like just Michael versus Laurie, like you said, same night kind of thing.
It's also one of those things where no matter what they came up with, they were gonna get some like shit for it. Like I just think no matter what they gave us, people were gonna be like, it's one of those things. You're like, oh, the original's better. You're never gonna top the old. It's no matter what you give them, they're gonna be like the originals. So, and I think that's just a sign of a good movie, something that's polarizing and something that like you either love it or hate it. I think that's a sign of like good writing or a good movie. So
well, yeah, and it definitely gets the conversation going for sure. And I think that with with the way that they went with Ends, it's like, I mean, what else could they have done? I think that one of the things they, if they knew about Corey going into making 2018, it would have been really cool to see Corey in that movie with, like you get the idea that maybe him and Allison knew each other in high school. Like maybe Cameron picked on Corey their whole time growing up. Maybe Corey was like in the honor society with Allison, and so they were sort of like study buddies, and so there was a pre-existing relationship. You don't even have to have Corey in Kills. He's just sitting at home doing whatever. And then bringing him into Ends, you're sort of like, oh, it's that guy. And it sort of gives a little bit more credence to Allison really kind of falling head over heels for him. Because it seems like she's sort of attracted to like the fact that he's just kind of like her, sort of like an outcast a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to think about it that way. I think it definitely would have been different, Raymond, if they didn't have to, if the pandemic didn't happen. I think Kills would have been different and Ends would have been different, because Kills got like the Peacock release. I don't even think, did it even go to theater? It got pushed back a year too. So it was supposed to come out in like 2021 or 2020.
No, we saw Kills in theater.
Right? Yeah, but it came out like the year after it was supposed to. You're right, yeah, because it came out in like 2022, didn't it?
It might have, yeah.
Or am I wrong? Is it 2021?
It might have been 21.
I think it was 21, but it was supposed to come out in 20 and they pushed it back. So yeah, it's like, who knows how that all would have shook out, or even if they just wrote the trilogy before even, because I think they wrote the first movie and they knew that they wanted to do 2 more if the first movie was successful, but I don't think they wrote the whole trilogy like before shooting 2018.
No, I would agree, because I think they would have done like a cameo from Corey, like just to make it more consistent. I think that
that would have been really cool.
Even like something small, like he just walks by and says "What's up" in like one scene. It would have just worked, But
Cameron bullying him or pushing him around or being like kind of jealous that he spends time with his girlfriend, like studying and stuff like that. Something, just some sort of little seed there for what would happen in a couple movies down the road. Something interesting to think about. And then Necromechanimal does we do this thing called start bench cut here sometimes, and it's like a sports thing. So it's like, the one that you would start is like out of the 3 choices you get is the number 1, and then bench is number 2 and cut is 3rd. So if we were looking at a foreign Halloween remake, if you guys had to pick start bench cut for Italian, Korean, and Japanese,
interesting,
what would you do?
I just want to say that guy's artwork was amazing for this episode.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So
beautiful.
I want to thank you for cutting my head off, and
it looked really cool.
I saw it last night. And I was like, bro, what is this? And I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. I was like,
yeah, Necro's been amazing. He's done that with so many of our. I don't even like. Kate and I are like, where did he get that picture of my face? Like, how did he find my face at that angle? I have no idea. Necro, don't want to know. Because I love the art so much. But
he's really talented, man. Like, I thought that was awesome. And then,
oh my god,
yeah, I saw my head cut off. I'm like, is this a troll? I was like, and then I'm like, oh no, he's supporting us. Okay. I thought somebody wanted me to die or something.
I know, and I'm like, there I am, Art the Clown. I was like, is it ICP? Oh no, it's Art the Clown. That's what it is. Yeah.
This is a good question. I'm just trying to think of the styles. For a Halloween remake,
I would start Italian.
The Italian's gory as hell. I would go Italian, but Japanese push the envelope.
Bench Korean. No, wait. Bench Japanese and cut Korean. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I don't really. I think I would go. Yeah, I would go Italian first, Japanese second. I don't know too much about Korean. That's the only reason I'm
That's
throwing
the
it
only
out.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But
I guess is Train to Busan. That's Korean, right?
Oh, that movie was entertaining as hell. Yeah.
That movie's really good. And I'm guessing like so with Italian, it would probably be more like a dreamy giallo kind of
like
thing,
giallo,
which is sort of similar to what it kind of is in a sense. So I'm sort of leaning like I maybe I want to see a Japanese. I'll start Japanese because maybe I do want to see something that's just like supernatural and over the top. So I'll start Japanese. I'll bench Korean and I'll cut Italian just because for the fuck of it, right?
But those Japanese storylines, they mess with your head. They go psychological a lot of times. So I'm thinking like
Audition's a Japanese horror.
Oh yeah, right? No, but I'm thinking like the story they would tell with Michael would probably be something like really deep. I'm just trying. This is such a good question. Damn.
Yeah. And then I would rank food opposite. So I would pick Italian would be my first food. So if we're going Halloween movie, Japanese, Korean, Italian, I'll go backwards for cuisine.
I'm gonna go Japanese, Italian. What's Korean food?
I don't think
like
I've ever
Korean
had
barbecue.
Korean food. Yeah, I don't think I've ever.
It's good
had
stuff. It's good stuff.
It's good. Yeah.
I love chicken palm and stuff like that though. But so
I love it all, but I'm a sucker for that damn Italian food.
What is sushi though? Sushi Japanese.
Yep.
Yeah, I love sushi.
Yep.
We love sushi. There's a roll called Godzilla. It's awesome. I just love the name of it too. I'm like, I'll take the Godzilla.
Yeah. My wife is a massive sushi fan. It's like if she goes a certain amount of time without it, she's like, I need my sushi so bad. It's like a drug addiction for sushi. And we met up in the Portland area in Oregon, so it's like, you're pretty close to the ocean. It's all fresh, and then now, kind of like you guys were out in the desert, so it's like tougher to find that good spot that does it,
Bro, it's like I'm from New York, so I'm trying to find like good pizza, and I can't find New York pizza anywhere. And there's places here that they like right in the window it says New York style. Come on in, New York style, and I'm like, lies. So
well, they don't have that water, right? It's the water. It's the New York City water that makes it have that different kind of flavor and probably affects the chemistry of the whole thing.
It doesn't make the dough doesn't rise properly, so it's like it affects the dough and how it's cooked. I think I don't know because
I'm a massive pizza fan. My wife and we actually met working at a pizza restaurant, but I'm sort of like I like it all. Like I like to me it's like there's a time and place for every kind of pizza. So sometimes I want the Sicilian cut, sometimes I want the big floppy greasy slice. Sometimes I want that stuffed style like Chicago, or there's even the thin like cracker style Chicago. Like I just love it all.
You ever have pizza in New York?
I never have. No, I've only been to New York once, and it was just like a couple days, or just one day in Manhattan, and I did not have any pizza. Unfortunately,
gotta get a slice, man.
I know.
I lived there my whole life till here, and everybody kept saying New York pizza, New York pizza. I was like, whatever. And now that I moved out, I'm like, dude, the pizza's not the same. They were right. So
yeah, it's gotta be wild to come out from a place like that all the way out on the West Coast, and people, they're trying their best, Rob, to emulate that style.
I am unsatisfied.
There is a spot. So I was just visiting up in Prescott, Arizona. It's about 2 hours north of Phoenix, and there's a spot called Grumpy's Sicilian, and the guys are from New York, and it's like a pizza by the slice. So you walk in there, and they usually have like some calzones, they have a couple Sicilians, and then they have like 10 round pies that are all by the slice, and it's really creative. There's like buffalo chicken, there was that's like
that's what I'm
chicken
about,
chicken ranch bacon, there's all this kind of stuff. There was one that I had that had like 3 different kinds of meat on it. It's just wild. So that's one of my favorite spots.
Meat lovers, right?
That sounds really good.
Yeah, I love the meat lovers. You get the bacon on there.
Good stuff, so yeah, man. That's one of my favorite. Like whenever we go up there, like we went out on Saturday night, I got pizza twice. Like I got pizza for dinner, and then when we were done hanging out watching music at the bars, I got pizza to bring home.
Oh, there you go.
That's the kind of, when I find a place that I love, like that's how I roll.
That's how we are too. We go to the same places.
It's cool to tell your partner too, or your wife. You could be like, I'll meet you at the place.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't got to say the name. You guys know.
Yeah. And then they're Yankee fans in there, and I'm a big Yankee fan as well. So I feel, feel good jumping in there, hanging out with those guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you're not from New York, but you like the Yankees?
Yeah. It's funny. I grew up like, man, they were so bad when I was a kid in the mid to late 80s. But I really love the old school, the old dynasty era, like the, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Lou Gehrig. I just felt like something about the Yankees just, like baseball wouldn't have been baseball without a team like that. And so fell in love with them. And then my family, they're all Orioles fans. So they're all like, what the hell, man? And I'm just like, sorry.
You're the black sheep of the family.
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place because my dad was a commander in the Coast Guard. So we sort of like moved all over. But I'm the 5th of 5 kids. So I spent most of my life in Alaska. So I didn't have to move around too much. But my siblings all grew up like on Governor's Island in New York and Bowie, Maryland. So they all grew up like Washington Redskins and like Capitals fans and like Orioles fans and so I followed them as far as like Capitals and Redskins went, but with baseball, I went by the beat of my own drum on that one.
It's a good choice though. New York's always good for me. So
they're pretty all right. They are pretty all right. Love me some Yankees, even though they frustrate the hell out of me lately. But what can you do? And I missed some people jumping in here because I was hanging out with the starred chats and we were doing our start bench cut. We got Rufio in the chat. What's happening, Rufio? Everybody make Rufio feel welcome. Is this somebody that you guys know?
No, I was saying hello myself. So.
Hell yeah. And then we got Chris Snyder from Movie Misfits Video. What's happening, Chris? Great to see you.
What's up, Chris? Thanks for coming by.
Hell yeah. And let's see. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody else, but you guys are keeping it alive in the chat. I feel so bad for leaving you guys hanging. It's just terrible. It's just terrible.
They stuck around and I didn't clear the room. That's awesome. They must like me.
Yeah, it's because they can't smell me. That's why they didn't clear. The room didn't clear.
You look like you smell good though.
Oh my gosh, yeah, a little sweaty, but I did shower before the show, so at least it's a clean sweat. But I sweat in the shower, so what the hell can you do?
Well, we got an opposite here. She's cutting Italian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that might have been the way that I went with the movies as well, Jamie. Yeah. Interesting.
No, you went that way with food, I thought.
With food, I went I went.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like how we went on like a food rant. That was awesome. Best pizza is from my mom's chops. Mom and pop.
Oh
yeah, like the little corner stores. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and same thing with cheesesteaks. You can
we got Cody Leach hanging out in the chat.
Oh, dude,
ooh, pizza talk.
Yo, I was just mentioning him before. He was like one of the guys I was watching when we were starting out. So
yeah, man,
I'm
we
a
got
fan.
to meet. Yeah, Cody was on last week, and we actually met the weekend before at a con out here, and so we got to get to know each other and talk about pretty much everything. And yeah, there was, man, especially one time in my life where I was driving out like 45 minutes each way to work, and it was absolute hell. And the only thing that got me through was putting on his long form videos where he would like rank an entire franchise, and it would take the whole ride out to work to listen to a video. Kept me sane.
when we first started, like Cody was one of the people we were watching, and he definitely he influenced us to do something similar. So like, I'm a fan, so I'm just hoping he notices me.
Well, hey, he's here, so he saw you and he heard the pizza talk.
All right,
all right. It's what's really cool too about what Cody, because Cody started out, it was pretty much like, horror reviews and all that kind of stuff. It's really awesome to see him. He made this shift to be, covering, all movies in general, but still with that focus on horror.
Yeah, no, my buddy Ken talks to him, and he's like, dude, he's like the nicest guy. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And he's like, yo. So, yes, what's up, Cody?
Cody is a real dude. Dude.
Check out that horror. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Oh, is he Cody, gone? Did we scare
Cody,
him?
I will say this, Cody, I know your dad is a Lions fan, and it was really tough growing up because they were so bad, but man, the Lions are really good right now. So, you know, just get some sort of sports app and you can find out when they won, and then give your dad a call after the Lions win, and he'll be in the best mood ever, right? Because there's no better feeling than being a football fan after your team wins.
Right.
True.
Did he bounce out of the chat after the sports talk? Maybe he did.
No, he's still there. He's still there. I witness you. Thanks for the kind word. Yeah.
Dude.
He's just giving you shit. No,
Yo, check out that horror couple. It's Cody
Mel from My Killer Podcast is hanging out as well.
She's cool.
Yeah,
I was just checking her out the other night.
Checking her out? What do you mean by that?
Oh,
Rob?
no, not
canceled.
No. Her video.
No, we came across her on YouTube.
No.
Yeah.
Her reviews, man. Her reviews.
No, Mel's great, and she'll be on the channel here at the end of the month. She's got the last spot in September, so really looking forward to getting to know Mel, because kind of, you know, like with you guys, most of the time, the first time I actually speak to my guests are, you know, like either right before the show or when they come on the show. So very rarely do I kind of get to know people a little bit before. But man, it was wild. Like with Cody, you know, getting to hang with him. I mean, seriously, it was like a good, like hung out till like 1 a.m. at the after party. Just Robert the Wolfman from the Horror Show channel, myself and Cody and a couple other folks, just like talking about whatever. It was super cool.
Awesome.
Cody actually made a video of like all the equipment he used and like all the editing software he used, and it was like so helpful. And I'm like,
yeah,
you know, not many people would give away all their secrets like that. And I thought that was that was a really cool thing, because, you know, especially when we were just getting started, I was like, yo, this is cool. So I was like, okay. So,
yeah, and it is pretty sweet, because I think a lot of times people are just like, you know, I mean, the video quality is like one thing, but it's like, man, just getting a good microphone. I think that's like one of those tough things. Like, you know, just making sure everything sounds good. And yeah, editing, man, when I started doing this, I had no friggin' clue what the hell I was doing. And I was like, well, I'm gonna learn. And I would stay up till like 4 a.m. finishing a video, because I promised that I would put it out, and then wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work. I'm just like, this is what I wanted to do.
I know,
Kaylee,
right?
you taught yourself everything with editing.
I know what he's talking about. It's hard, because I never did anything like that before, so I just had to. I just taught myself. Like
she would be like yelling at the TV a lot. I mean, the monitor a lot at first.
Oh yeah,
like cursing it out, and like.
Yes.
But I noticed like less cursing throughout the years, and now almost none.
Yeah.
So,
I get the whole, like, I mean, it's all my fault. Like my user error, like clicking the wrong thing. And I'm just like, come on, what the fuck? You know,
That's
just
me. Yeah.
saying these terrible things.
It's me.
it's also hard to get to, you have to, it's also hard to learn like what's allowed on YouTube, because like a lot of times, like we started getting views on like trailer reactions, and then they were like, you can't show this trailer. And I'm like, bro, you tell me after I got like, I think Exorcist Believer, we got like 10,000 views. And I'm like, you tell me now? I'm
That's
like,
why they tell you.
I'm like, you, after the video does well, you tell me now. I like, it gets like, whatever it's called, demonetized. I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's what, it's funny. And it, like, different companies feel differently about it, right? Because it's like, there are certain films, like with the Terrifier, right? They'll be like, hey, they put their copyright on it, but they're not claiming that you can't like monetize. They just want people to know that, hey, we own this. And like Beetlejuice, I think it was the same way, where it's like everything was fine. They were just like, hey, Warner Brothers does put the copyright, but there's no strike. But man, when I did the Acolyte trailer, they were like,
yeah.
Disney was like, we did not approve you, Davey Deathray. You cannot talk about our shit. And it's just like, man, you guys couldn't make it any more clear that you don't want me as a Star Wars fan anymore. Like, you have phased me out.
That's why we started doing like trailer breakdowns instead of reactions. So
yeah.
So I don't have to.
So like our videos start now, like, hey, we
yeah.
just watched the trailer. Like we don't show the actual watching process, because that's like, that's what they had a problem with. So like it's hard to like,
it's random.
You gotta like make mistakes to learn, you know. So
yeah, and Cody says, people treating their success as a secret you aren't worthy to know are weirdos. We should all grow and succeed together. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's the age-old adage of the rising tide raises all ships, and I think that's something that I really see here on YouTube that I really didn't see when I was in the music side of show business. It was a lot more cutthroat. People that hang out on the channel a lot are like, Davey, you always talk about this, but it's true. It's like, man, playing music, you meet somebody that smiles to your face, you help them out with a show, and then when you need a show, it's silence.
Yeah,
or they take all the money from the door because they had to drive 2 more miles than you, so they don't want to split the door. Like, seriously, all these things have happened, and then it's so refreshing in just the little amount of time that I've been experiencing YouTube that there are people, most people are like Cody and like you guys and everyone else that's been so awesome.
The music scene, I remember when I played in bands, we'd show up and there'd be arguments over who's closing the show, and I'm like, are they serious? I was like,
yeah,
but yeah.
Well, especially if you already agreed on it, and then the day of the show they're like, oh, I gotta go like pick up somebody from blah blah, and it's like, dudes, we agreed on this. Like, what's going on here? Like, what's the angle? And whatever.
My old band had a gig one night, and it was already agreed that we were going to use their PA. So, and then we were supposed to go on after them, and then they were like, we got to leave early because we had to meet up with our promoter. And I'm like, dude, I was like, what? So, yeah, like you said, the music can be kind of brutal, the scene, but I feel like with YouTube, if I don't even think of it like competition, but if it is, it's friendly competition, because it's my friends, and if they make a good video, it inspires me to make a good video myself. And we could talk, like I said before, we could talk about the same movie, and the video will come out totally different. It will, because it's different personality, different style. It's like, and that it's kind of a cool thing, So.
Yeah, I think that, it is that sort of like, I don't even know if I think of it as competition. I just think like, more and more the way I think about it is like, okay, so what can I do that carves out a space that feels like I'm bringing something new to the table? And I can still talk about movies and my love of movies and all that stuff. I can still kind of like review movies, or if I'm like feeling really passionate about something, like put out a review of it because I just really want to talk about it. But to not feel like, oh, I got to keep up with the Joneses and like do this thing because it's somebody else is somebody else is a success doing it. It's not like I actually have to do that same thing. You know what I mean? Exactly. So it's like, I love, the people out there like, like Cody and 3C and all those guys that do movie reviews and are very successful. It's like, that's awesome. And they're incredible at what they do. I would be a fool to think that I can just jump in and start doing the same thing and find the same level of success. It's like, I gotta find something different, and that's one of the ways one of the reasons why I came up with this show. And thank you to Late Night with the Devil, because the name would have been terrible if that movie didn't come out this year. So
I love the name of the show and everything. I think it's awesome.
That was our idea, though. We're like, there's all these great like movie creators out there. I'm like, let's just do it, but like sloppy.
But just be ourselves. Yeah, like just the people we like, they were authentic. We could tell. So that's what you mean.
Yeah, and like we kind of got better as we went, but at first I was like, we'll do something like that, but like I think putting your own personality into it is a lot of fun, though. So
I mean, that's what people come for, right? Like people come for your unique spin and your personality, and that's why I think you just have to be yourself and make sure you're passionate about what you're talking about.
Like if it's Cody or Sledgehammer Horror, what do you say? The only competition.
That's exactly. It's only if they're dicks to you do you really see it as like, all right, now I gotta kick that guy's ass.
We had people talk bad about us, so we're like, okay, you're going down. But usually when that happens, the profile picture, they don't have one, and they have like 3.
It's a troll.
Yeah, they have like 3 followers, so I'm like, whatever.
But yeah, and exactly the people that are like, oh, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, you have 3 subscribers, you don't even make your own videos. Why are you telling me what to do with my channel? Like, like you don't even know. That's the biggest faux pas. Like, only if somebody comes to you and asks for your guidance should you really give it, right?
We get like this comment like, your face is scarier than the movie, and I'm like, who is this? I'm like what? So
you're like, I'm sorry that your mom didn't hug you enough. Like, what do you say to somebody that
Kaylee just writes, thanks for watching.
And I usually block them. They're a troll.
But there are times where I'm like, thanks for the engagement. You just helped the algorithm. Like, there you go.
Right. Yeah, people. Yeah, that very strong opinions on the new Crow, though. But yeah, like you're right though, because the Sledgehammer Horror, Cody, and a few others, like I could see the movie, I can know all about what they're talking about, but I'll still tune in just to see them. Like, you know what I mean? That like I want to see like them present it like their version of like their review. You know what I mean? Even though I know the movie. So
yeah, and with Cody, it's like, look, I know I'm not going to watch all of the direct-to-video Hellraiser movies, but I'll watch Cody talk about them. Like, oh yeah, that's what's up. Like now I feel like I've watched him. This is great. Like, you know, so it's kind of like a Cliff's Notes for some of the stuff where I'm like, I'm interested in the idea of this series, but not in watching all the movies. But you know, somebody that can put it all together and make it make sense for me and be entertaining. Yeah, it's really fun. And then, you know, I mean, like as far as the competitive edge of it goes, it's almost like, yeah, you're just inspired to work together to like, what could I do with this person? Like, how could we collaborate? And like, how could our two styles sort of meld together, you know? And what can I learn from them? And how can we lift each other up? You know,
exactly. That's what Ken Sledge told me. He goes, yo, like the horror community is it's big, but it's small. So like if one of us is doing good, all of us are doing good, you know? So it's like, I feel like there's room for everybody, and I think
everybody supports each other too, especially in the YouTube like horror movie community. I feel like, you know, people are always sharing their stuff or commenting or just any way they can support each other. I really love seeing that, and we've had that with, you know, most people we've met on here have been amazing, so it's been awesome.
What is Cody saying?
He's talking about Hellraiser. He suffered
the straight to video sequels.
He's the Jesus of the Hellraiser franchise.
Yeah, that should be on a shirt. That should be on a shirt of like a Cody Leach shirt. I suffered so you don't have to.
I suffered so you didn't have. Cody Leach as Pinhead with the phrase underneath.
Oh, well, some of the Hellraiser sequels are like weird as hell to me. Like it has nothing. It has like it's just about a cop the whole time, and then at the end, Pinhead's like, "How you doing?"
Yeah, like, I think that's I think a lot of them were probably. It sounds like a few of them were written as movies, and then they're like, "All right, Dimension buys the script, and they're like, we're gonna put Pinhead in the script, and now it's a Hellraiser movie, even though it was never."
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Yeah. And then there's that one that's like virtual. It's like a video game.
I have not seen.
I watched it once, and I'll never watch it again. Cody will probably know what I'm talking about.
I've watched the first 3 Hellraiser movies, and I enjoyed those. And I don't know if I need to go any further.
I think those are the best ones.
I watched the first 2. I haven't seen past that.
The third one's fun. I think the third one's kind of underrated.
3's where the pillar comes, right? The Pillar of Souls is in part 3.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it's like the guy that owns the nightclub that like has an apartment that's in the nightclub, and I still, the first one though is, man, that's the one. That to me is like Edgar Allan Poe, like a modern version of that. It's got the effects are so damn good. It has like Evil Dead level of gore, and I just love those stories that are kind of like tales of morality, or like, you know, where the bad people get their comeuppance, kind of like, you know, Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone, all that kind of stuff. And that first Hellraiser movie just like really, you know, packs a punch.
And the sequel, am I wrong, or does it? I think the sequel takes place right after the first one. It's like so you can.
I think so. Yeah, and it gets way more dreamy and way more surreal. I love that the sequel's different. I don't like it as much as the original, but I can't stand a sequel that's just a rehash. Like that's the worst thing ever. So it's like, you know, applause to them for doing something different and taking it further, for sure.
But you know, you could literally like put on part 2, and I think it takes place like a second later, and you're like,
I don't really remember that.
Unless I'm wrong, but
I think it takes place. I don't know. Cody will have to tell us.
Cody, jump in.
Hellraiser 3 is a blast, says Chris Snyder. Jamie Hart loves Hellraiser 2. Yeah, I need to watch it again because I really enjoyed it, but it was like a different kind of, I don't know, sort of reminded me of like Ghostbusters meets the first. I don't know, it just had this sort of spacey, weird kind of vibe going on.
It's a good Motorhead song, Hellraiser.
Oh, nice! Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll sub back.
Oh, thanks so much. Oh man,
I hope
you're making my day.
Ticking up. There you go. It's got to be ticking up.
Thank you so much.
Oh, this is cool. You guys are awesome. We'll follow you back, and I'll give you a virtual hug.
And Paula says Twisters was a good movie. Did you guys dug that?
She was into it.
I loved it. I bought it the second it came out on digital.
For Glenn Powell.
Yes.
Right? Is that the cowboy that's like smooth with the ladies?
Yeah.
I have the feeling that underneath Kaylee's pillow there's like a copy of like Revenge of the Sith, and then there's like some Twisters there. And then like maybe Hayden Christensen's face is on the pillowcase. Like,
you're not far off, bro.
You're not far off.
Like, yeah. No, these chick romance novels, it's basically porn.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
There's a story. So
there's no story.
There's a story.
It's like
the story is.
Yeah. God.
No, they just use creative language, Rob. So it's like, she felt his throbbing member against her leg, and it made tingles go up and down her spine and in other regions she didn't know existed.
I want pictures. I don't want to read it.
No, yeah, well, men are visual creatures. That's why we look like complete messes and women are beautiful. Yes.
But what a way to go. What a way to, that's how I want to go out.
Hey, works out for me. The expectations are, the bar is just so much lower. You know, it's like, are you a complete troll that can't even get off the couch? No? All right. Well, there's a hot chick out there for you.
Well, bro, I'm from the era of like dirty magazines. Nowadays, like porn's built in on the phone. Like kids will never understand. Kids will never understand the struggle.
Or even like the taboo. Like now that I'm, you know, I've been covering Tales from the Crypt on the channel, and I've been watching them with my wife, and she's like, "You watched these episodes as a kid?" And I was like, well, yeah, I like snuck off away from my, I had to do it all in secret. And that was like part of the fun, you know, and not every episode has those elements, but like maybe they did. And when I was that age, like that was enough. Or I would stay over at a friend's house because we never had HBO because my parents didn't want me watching that stuff. But I would stay over at a friend's house, stay up till like 2 or 3 in the morning because that's when Skinamax really became Skinamax.
Yes, you know? I did the same thing.
Yeah. So we would just sit there and play Sega Genesis until like 2 in the morning, you know, drinking like Mountain Dew and eating trolley Apple-Os or whatever. And then 2 or 3 in the morning comes around and it's like, all right, guys, let's watch some NC-17 terrible movies.
No, but like looking back on it, like you watch the whole movie just to see like a boob and you're like, what was wrong with us? You're like, that's why we watched this whole movie, just to see like a boob?
Yeah. Well, you know, it was... They were rare in that time, you know, like you said, you couldn't just pull out your phone and look at it, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's terrible.
It was a struggle, kid.
Man, Glenn Powell, he's popping off.
Hell yeah.
He's got that winning smile, right? I've only seen him in Top Gun so far, but I've seen the ads of other things that he's in, and I'm like, oh, he's doing that Glenn Powell smile thing, right? He's the new Hemsworth, right? He's replacing the Hemsworth. They're old. We've seen him in enough movies now. We need something new. Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
I need a tornado in my pants, and Glenn Powell's gonna come solve the mystery. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I said that.
I'm gonna start saying that. Tornado in the pants.
The throbbing member felt like a tornado up her skirt.
Oh.
I can't.
And just like butter melting on a hot piece of toast, she melted in his hands.
I'm not going to be able to read my book like seriously now. Like before I go to sleep, I'm going to just like laugh.
You know,
that's what you're doing on the Kindle all night, aren't you?
If you guys ever need a little excitement in your life, just we'll do a video call. We don't have to go live with everyone else. We'll do a video call. I'll just read the books to you guys.
Yeah.
And I'll do it in a voice like this.
We'll do some interpretive dancing. Or we'll act out this.
There you go. Cody says the good old days of having your finger on that previous channel button like a gun trigger.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
Just in case. I wasn't allowed to watch MTV, so I had to make sure it was like ready to go.
My parents were the same. It was like my parents would let me watch whatever movie that they watched. So even if it was like rated R, whatever, I would have to cover my eyes when the sexy stuff came up. But they were pretty cool about that. But yeah, very much like my mom didn't want me watching MTV. And then we had one of these, speaking of this thing, Cody, and I'm outing myself a little bit. So back in the day, we had this TV where you could actually like play with the tracking, and the Spice Channel came to Juno. Dude. So I would put the TV on the channel before the Spice Channel, and then I would mess with the tracking, and I could get, it was basically black and white Spice Channel. And when my friends found, they were like, no way. And I was like, dude, come over after school, bro. Yeah. And it was like, my mom doesn't get home till 4:30. We can watch some, I mean, it's all you see really are butts and boobs. I mean, it's all softcore, you know, it's nothing too crazy or whatever, but a very exciting time.
When we were a kid, that was like a big deal, though. And now I see that stuff now. I'm like, what was wrong with us? I was like, it's not even hardcore.
Not even hardcore. I know. Jeez. Yeah. The first time I saw that, I was like, ah. You know.
Yeah, I see it nowadays.
I was like, I'm too Catholic for this.
Yeah, it's like nudity by a waterfall. I'm like, too classy, too classy. I'm like, it's not my thing.
But it is interesting the way, you know, I think there's MAGA Cat had talked about it the other day. Just that it's sort of like, you know, nudity's like now gone. Like we don't even really see it even in horror movies. You don't really see it anymore. You know, it is an interesting. I mean, it's cool that we can always go back and, you know, those 80s movies are pretty wild with it. You know, the Friday the 13th films especially.
That's why Kaylee has the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the life-size cutout of Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually don't have one, if you could believe that.
Not yet.
They sell them.
Yeah, you're in Vegas. They probably sell them all over the place, right?
Yeah.
You just walk all over. It's like, oh, there's Hayden Christensen hanging out here.
Don't give her any ideas, Davey.
Well, Christmas is coming up here in a couple months, so maybe you'll get a little Davey Deathray gift, you know.
She wants to meet him, but the guy's got no social media, so I don't even know where he's going to show up at cons.
He does a lot of conventions now, but it's just far, so.
I'm trying to get it over with so she can just get a picture, and I can be like, here you go. But, you know, then I got to meet my some hot chick celebrity.
The wrestling chicks?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's your wrestling chick?
Oh, Liv Morgan. She's a hot blonde. Do you watch wrestling at all?
I was into the WWF in the 80s and 90s, and never really, you know, I was the Attitude Era was really big when I was in high school. So I was like aware of it, but I wasn't, you know, watching it regularly.
That was an awesome time to be a wrestling fan because the Attitude Era had WCW, WWE, and like Cody said, I had the flip button back and forth. I'd watch like 2 wrestling shows at the same time. So.
And I'm looking at pictures of Liv Morgan. Yeah, she's cute for sure.
Hell yeah, dude.
And not too like bulky. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like there's a bit of the bulkiness that comes with being able to do the wrestling thing.
Muscles scare me. I don't like them like shit. Yeah. I don't want girls that can hurt me.
They can beat you up.
Most girls can, but I don't want to die.
No, I hear you. But Gina Carano can beat the shit out of me all she wants. I'll take that. It's not my kink, but it could be. So, you know.
That's a whole nother late night with the Davey.
Woo! If I could get her on the show, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
That would be wild. She's super charming in The Mandalorian, man. Getting rid of her was a big mistake. I quite don't understand it still.
I didn't understand it either. It was very quick. They were very quick to remove her from everything. I was like, oh, okay.
For something that, like, let's be honest, I think like really wasn't a big deal. I'm just like, you're gonna fire her for saying that?
I don't remember the specifics. Whoa. I just know it was over something she posted or something. And I was like, isn't that a little harsh? But
it happened with the Scream movie too.
Yeah, I guess people are sensitive about certain things nowadays, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because they sort of proved her point in a way, because she was like, you know, when you're this way politically, you sort of feel like people are after you, and then they're like, you're done, fired, see ya.
Yeah.
You got to be like, my account was hacked. It wasn't me.
Yeah. It wasn't me.
Muscle mommies.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, you know, so I went and saw WWF at the Capitol Center in like 1990, and it was like Bret the Hitman Hart and Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
And like those are the ones I saw live.
Roddy Piper.
And then I had those old like LJN rubber dolls.
Dude, I had them too.
Like,
yeah.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Junkyard Dog and Andre the Giant and all those guys, you know. So yeah, I mean, like wrestling was, you know, when I was a little kid was super fun. And then I you know, when I was in high school, I just got more interested in like music and you know, my first girlfriend at the time and all that kind of stuff. It just distracts you from what's important, like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Dude, well,
his Hot Ones is amazing. Have you guys seen that?
Oh yeah, no,
I think
of Hot
you
Ones.
showed that to me, didn't you? Okay.
He's absolutely brilliant. Like the man is like, I'm like, this is one of the smartest people that I've ever seen talk in my life, and it's fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Not many people could have been on top of the Attitude Era like he was. He was the face of the company when the company was like really hot. So
yeah. Have a good night, Jamie.
Good night, Jamie. Thanks for being she was the moderator, right?
Yeah, Death Squad mod.
God. Yeah, thanks for looking out for us. she
moderated.
Yes.
Do you think muscular women give subliminal birth to proud? I don't know about that. I don't know. Because they've been muscly women forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Well, you just be you, and I think that's that's what everybody's doing.
And Chris says those dolls brought me a lot of memories. Yeah, I had the big ones, and then we had the thumb wrestling ones where you stick your thumb in through the back, and it's like a thinner plastic.
Yes,
thinner rubber. Yeah,
I had Big John Stud, and I had a few of those. Yeah, Iron Sheik.
Yeah. God, Iron Sheik. Have you heard that band Iron Sheik? You ever listen to those guys from Brooklyn?
Dude, they're from Long Island. I know exactly who they are. Yeah,
they're Why did I think they were from Brooklyn? Or some of them from Brooklyn?
The singer grew up in the same town as me. They started off as a band called Explosivo, and then they became Small Arms Dealer, and now they're Iron Sheik, and they're incredible. A great
love Iron Sheik.
Great punk band, great rock band, great. I love his voice, his raspy voice. I love it. Yeah, they're incredible. I love Iron Sheik.
They remind me a lot of that band Lifetime I was telling you about. Like, I get a lot of that Lifetime vibe. And I'll tell you what, I saw Iron Sheik in Portland in this tiny little bar like 10 or 12 years ago. It was friggin' crazy. Like, they had the bar separate. There was like the showroom and then the bar room, and they had a curtain that separated it. Usually they didn't have to close the curtain or anything like that. Dude, Iron Sheik was like bringing down the house. So many people came in there. People were literally like climbing on people's backs just to like look into the showroom. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah. Their shows are hardcore, and like, you know, everybody shares the same mic and sings literally along with the singer. So you see a crowd of people around the singer, and they're all screaming into the same mic.
Well, and that's one thing I didn't know about them, because on the record I was like, oh, is it just the same guy like singing his backup vocal? And then when I saw him live, I'm like, oh, the lead guitarist sings like almost the whole time with him.
Phil Douglas. He started in a band called Latterman that was also from Long Island. Yeah. And so Iron Sheik is made up of members of Latterman and Small Arms Dealer, and they formed like ex-members of both, and both bands were great, but they formed and like made this hybrid of like a great punk band.
Dude, fucking love Iron. The lyrics of the Iron Sheik lyrics are just so like honest, and just, I don't know. To me, it's like, I love when people show their vulnerability in their music. And I think that's something that punk rock does really well, that a lot of genres don't really do, in that sort of like just like kind of pour it all out there kind of way, you know. But yeah, man, Iron Sheik, what a band.
He was also Jason Lebrano. He was the singer of Iron Sheik. He was in a band called the Howards in Long Island back in the day, and that was like when he was like 16. He was like silly songs about like whacking off. And I remember that there was a band called the Howards that's how I first heard about them. And then I was a fan of like his writing, so I was following every band that guy was in, and now he's in Iron Sheik. And Iron Sheik's they're pretty huge, dude. They're like touring the world. So
I mean, as far as punk goes, yeah, I mean, they're just like, you know, that's one of the things I really love about punk rock too, is like, there's still like, maybe there's like technically a ceiling, you know, but it's like, but you still, everywhere you go, you pack the friggin' house, you know. They go out and play the fest in Gainesville, and they're gonna sell the place out in like 2 minutes, you know. And then you ask a normie about them, and they're like, who's Iron? Even normies don't even know about a band like NoFX, and it's like, what's happening? Like, how do you not know?
They've been around since like '83. It's like but like, I feel like with the internet nowadays, it's kind of cool how like a band can get heard, and a band can, you know, maybe they can make a little money, or maybe they can be on Spotify, and you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think it's easier to get the word out nowadays about your band than it used to be, you know?
For sure.
Like, before the whole like streaming thing happened, it was hard for a band to get out there, like, you know. So
yeah, you can actually like, before, when you're planning a tour, people can listen to your music, like, you know, on the opposite side of the country, and know who you are. They don't have to just be like, oh, I stumbled into a show and heard this band. It's like, no, they can actually, oh, this band is playing with a local band I really like, and they can listen to the album for like a month ahead of time and be singing your damn songs by the time you show up. Like, it's really cool.
Especially in the punk scene back in the day, like the 90s, it was a tape trading was a big deal. Like on a cassette tape, it's like, check out this band from California, and like, I'm in New York, and I'm like, okay, cool, check out this band from, and like, that's how before the internet, that's how we like kind of like heard about other bands, you know. The tape trading thing was a big deal.
Absolutely. Brendan says, you guys ever listen to the Wombats? I have not listened to the Wombats. Are you
What?
familiar?
I know that name, but I can't name any of their stuff. I think I
The-
might have. Are they like horror punk or?
Yeah, the name sounds familiar to me.
I think they're like. They might be like a rockabilly horror punk. I don't know though.
You like Tiger Army? You dig that?
Yeah.
They're like a rockabilly horror punk.
Yeah, they're on Hellcat. They're on Hellcat Records.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Or an Epitaph? They're on something.
I think it was Hellcat. Yeah, Tiger Army Never Die. Those first two records especially. Really love those.
They're on Tim Armstrong's label.
Sugar Cubes. I have heard so much about them, but I can't say that I know the music. Rufio.
I like the name.
But I do know the band Rufio.
Is he
the pop punk band from the 90s?
It's a cool name.
Yeah. Greek Trades is one of their biggest songs from the Wombats. All right, well, I'll have to check them out.
I'll check it out right after this, or I definitely will give it. I love music, so I'll listen to anything you want to throw my way.
Yeah. What are you listening to nowadays? Kaylee, I would imagine you're rocking the Taylor Swift and all that kind of stuff. Sabrina Carpenter, what kind of music is that? Like what is it? What is she similar to?
She's pop, so it's kind of I would say like she's a little bit like Taylor Swift, but even more poppy. Like Rowan Campbell was just in her music video with Jenna Ortega that she just. I don't know if you saw that like on your feed.
I did.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Like that she had Jenna Ortega and Rowan Campbell in her music video. But yeah, it's like super like bubblegum poppy kind of music. I like upbeat, like happy poppy music most of the time. So, but I do, like I said before, I like the Smiths, like the Misfits, like
The Cure.
Stuff like that.
But yeah, no, I've been listening to a lot of this band Crimshine from like the late 80s.
Oh yeah.
I just think they're incredible, and like they were part of that whole like California Gilman thing that happened with Green Day and like Operation Ivy. This band Crimshine. There's a band Crimshine, and like they're underrated. I think they're just incredible. I love the raspy voice. I love the rawness. Sometimes I even like a bad recording. I don't know why.
I'm right there with you. I love it. Like the Ergs, that Dork Rock Cork Rod album from the Ergs. I'm like, I love an album that just sounds like I'm in the basement with them.
Yeah, like
no frills.
Sometimes like a rough recording just makes it. I'm like, this is so punk, and like it gives off a different vibe. But there's a band Crimshine, and I think they later became 15. Have you ever heard the punk band 15?
Yeah.
I just love the raspy voice and like this hard hitting punk band. I love it. So. And,
do you like you ever vibe with Sam I Am? Do you ever listen to them?
No, but I will. I like the name.
They're part of that whole like kind of Gilman thing too.
Yeah.
Really fun shit. I mean, Operation Ivy, man, hearing that record, I heard them the year that Green Day broke, because Green Day was talking about them in all their interviews. They talk about Screeching Weasel, Fugazi, and Operation Ivy.
That's how I heard.
I got the Op Ivy tape, and it just like blew my mind because I had no idea what ska was. Dude, especially third wave ska. So I was like, this is like rapping with punk rock. Like, what the hell's going on?
Every time someone says who's the best like ska punk band, I say Op Ivy, hands down. Like I always say Op Ivy, like because I love Operation Ivy, and like of course they became Rancid, and like I love Rancid, and
the lyrics in Op Ivy are just amazing. I mean, it's not even necessarily like political, it's like sociological, like just singing about the way we are as people. Like I feel like Jesse Michaels, the way he would could articulate how he felt about whatever topic he was writing about is just the lyrics are just incredible.
Like that song The Crowd, it's such deep lyrics, and it's a fun song, but if you listen to the lyrics, he's like trying to make a point, and I'm like, okay. And dude, incredible band.
I mean, Unity, Freeze Up, Artificial Life, like all those songs, man.
You know what's nuts though? They have such a big influence on so many people. Op Ivy, Green Day was covering Knowledge by Op Ivy.
Yeah, on their first record. It's crazy.
What's wild is they were around 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
They were a band for 2 years. They have one album. And
it's crazy.
Dude, I mean, they made history in like 2
the
years.
legacy. Yeah, the legacy is still going strong. You know, like when you say Gilman, you think Op Ivy.
Oh yeah,
It was just 2 years. You know,
I think Green Day, Op Ivy. I think
Yeah.
and when Green Day broke, like they just opened the doors for me because I remember seeing Mike Durant at Woodstock with a Screeching Weasel shirt, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and of course I was like 12. I was like, who's Screeching Weasel? And then the local record store had a punk section, so when I looked through it, I saw Screeching Weasel. I'm like, that's what it was. So I got. Oh, I just knocked this out.
No, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
I'm talking, knocking stuff over here. Yeah, but so I remember going through the punk section and like, I'm like, oh, the Queers. I heard about them because like Green Day used to rock like these bands' shirts and like
Pansy Division, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
the stickers on Billy Joe's guitar. A lot of them, I was like, oh, what's that sticker? And it was all bands he liked or like friends of his. So yeah, Pansy Division. They're funny. They're just telling jokes about like how they like dudes and they're it's just funny stuff.
Yeah,
like they have a song called the Christmas song. You ever hear their Christmas song?
I haven't. No.
Look it up. It's pretty funny.
Hell yeah.
I want to be your Christmas present. It's just.
Well, and that reminds me of, now I'm thinking about like the Vandals. I'm a big Vandals fan, and they did that whole Christmas album, that Oi to the World album. And then No Doubt covered their song Oi to the World on like a Now That's What I Call Christmas, or one of those like major label Christmas compilations or whatever, because they're from the same town. Like they grew up in the same spot in Southern California. It's wild to see how, you know, all that kind of overlap and everything within that world, you know. And man, have you ever been out to Gilman? Have you caught a show out there?
It's on my things to do list, just like the Punk Rock Museum. I mean, like, but we're homebodies at the same time, so I'm just trying to like that's the thing. Like, there's so much to do out here. It's kind of like New York City. There's just so much to do, and like there's so many things that I want to check out, you know. So I'm gonna see the Punk Rock Museum probably soon. It'll probably be a video on our channel, and From what I've seen on other people's videos, it looks like just like the history of like every great band in the world, and like Tim Armstrong's guitars in a glass case, Billy Joe's guitars in a glass case. Like it's just
wild.
I think the Ramones, not Dee Dee's, but it was like CJ Ramone's bass is in a glass case. Like dude, I'm like just to get a picture next to that. Like, dude, I'd be like,
oh, absolutely, yeah, you got to check that out. And then you guys ever go to like Nightmare Toys? You ever check that out?
Yeah, they're friends of ours. We were on their podcast a couple times. We walked in, and that was like one of our first things to check out. We're like, we got to check out Nightmare Toys, right? We walked in, and the people that worked there, they were like, that horror couple? And I was like, yeah. And I swear to God, that's how it happened. So they're like, what's up? And eventually they were just like, you want to come on our podcast? And they were so cool. They kind of like took us under their wing, you know. So
that's way too cool. Yeah Christy's super sweet. She was on one of the first episodes of this show. You know, when I was reaching out at the beginning of the show, I had multiple guests on and would like hop around, and then I got to the point where I was like, oh man, I feel bad having people wait, and trying to schedule 3 people for every show is just wild. It would just be more fun to be able to do kind of like what we're doing here and not have to worry about you know, the timing of it all and all that kind of stuff. But Punk Rock Museum, I've got to go check that out. I still haven't been to Nightmare Toys, so I definitely got to do that too.
It's cool.
There's a lot of stuff to do here. Yeah.
They had a great restaurant. Unfortunately, it's closed now, but they had the Nightmare Cafe for a little while. It was just really good food, and it was all horror themed stuff on the menu. It was like I'm trying to think. It was like,
I can't remember now.
No, but it was like you know, but yeah, but Christy, she like really like loves horror. She loves talking horror. So I told other podcasts, I'm like, just hit up Christy. She'll talk to you because she just loves talking. She likes the slashers. So she'll talk. She'll talk about it. Like she'll talk about it all day with you. So yeah, they're good people. Phil, Christy, Nightmare Toys.
Yeah, I got to get out there and say what's up. I've been out here in Phoenix for it's been 5 years now, and we've not gone up to Vegas in that whole time that we've been here. It's wild.
One day we gotta like get a picture, like a selfie.
We gotta. I mean, I have a lot of fun in Vegas. My wife is like a little lukewarm about it, but like I think that there's so much. Like we worked on the Wizard World Comic Con, and we went through Vegas and got to go see like the Evil Dead musical and sat in the front row and like hung out with the cast and all that kind of stuff. Like to me, it's like Vegas is just like, it is what you make of it. Like if you go there for a couple days, you can do all the things that you want to do and you can get out unscathed, you know? And then of course I would imagine with you guys living there, it's like, yeah, you probably stay far away from the strip unless there's some main attraction that you want to go to. But it's cool to live in a place where you can have those things if you want them, you know?
No, it's just a bunch of drunk young guys and they're like, party! And like all the time. And I'm like, bro, I'm trying to go to the grocery store, move. And like, you know, so, but yeah, it is. What is cool is like when there is an obscure movie, like Kaylee, you're from Georgia, and originally we lived in Georgia for a few years. Georgia would not have a lot of horror, like in theaters, like a lot of movies they would not show. Here it's like, dude, it's Vegas, they'll have it, dude.
Like the limited
release. Yeah, like
everything. Yeah.
Like the limited, like select. Whenever they say select theaters, I'm pretty confident. I'm like, we'll see it, you know. So it is good if you want to see something kind of rare or bizarre or out there.
Yeah, same thing with here. Like living in Phoenix, you're basically like, yeah, I might have to drive, like just because the city's so like widely spread out. But it's like, you know, whatever. Like if I want to go see something, then it'll be there. But yeah, man, the town I grew up in had 4 screens when I was a kid, and so many movies that I wanted to see just never came to my hometown. It was such a bummer.
That's a drag, dude. Yeah. That's a bummer.
But I did get to see H2O in the theater. So
nice.
Oh, that's awesome. That is
I loved it when it came out. Now I'm a little, you know, I'm kind of on the fence with H2O. Don't hate it.
Who are we when we watch it? We're like, because we're like, the new Halloween movies are so good compared to this one. I liked it
up until the recent ones, and now I'm like, I'd rather watch those. I thought 2018 was so good, man. I thought Halloween 2018 was so good. I was like, that's such a good film. And
the portrayal of Michael in H2O is the biggest problem for me. Like I don't like any of the masks, like, except for the curse mask that they use in the very first scene. That's the only one that really works for me.
Dude, there was like 27 masks used in that movie.
And none of them really do it for me. Whereas in all the David Gordon Green movies, I think Michael's awesome. Like he just looks amazing, and that's the most important thing to me. Maybe it's not for everyone else. But,
the look of the killer for sure. It's got to look cool, man.
It's even, you know, it takes down Halloween 4 a notch for me, where that ridiculous mask is just, you know, I don't know what the hell, but I get it. Because a lot of people love that movie, and I get it. You know,
you ever see the Family Guy where they bring up George P. Wilbur from Part 4?
Yeah, that's so wild. He's like what a deep cut, bizarre joke.
Yeah.
The dog's like, who the hell's George P. Wilbur? He's like, it's from the greatest film of all time. He's like,
yeah. But what I thought was funny is they don't bring up Curse of Michael Myers because George P. Wilbur also played Michael in Curse. They only bring up Halloween 4, right?
It was him and Tom Morga for 6. I think they switched off. Yeah, but you're right.
Yeah.
He was Michael twice. So, but I think with 4 he was there the whole time being Michael. But
with the hockey pads on.
I always thought, I was like, yo, if I ever meet him again, I'm gonna get him to sign something from Family Guy, and unfortunately he passed away. So
yeah, it's too bad. Yeah.
What was your snack?
Yeah, Jamie, what did you eat?
What do you
need to know?
Yeah. What's your go-to snack at whatever time it is?
A piece of buttered toast on a plate with Glenn Powell's face on it. I'm gonna butter your bread.
That's tasty. Nice, dude. People are hardcore in this chat. They've been staying up with us.
Oh my gosh, it's wild. And it's funny, like I said last week when Cody popped off, there were still like 45 or 50 people on the stream for like the next hour and a half. Like I couldn't say goodbye. So and that's where we're at kind of right now. It's like, man, for having, it looks like 17 people hanging out in the stream right now. Like,
thank you so much.
That's awesome. Like that's one of those things where I'm like, I just don't want to say goodbye, but I don't know about you guys. I do have to work tomorrow. You guys what do you guys do for a living? You don't have to tell me. I don't owe you anything, but
oh no,
nanny?
I'm a nanny, yeah.
We're nannies.
Yeah.
Look after the kids.
I was in daycare for a long time.
Yeah, we were like our own daycare thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's sweet.
We look after the kids.
So what kind of what do you guys, when you want to get a vacation, what do you do for a vacation?
Oh, it's we know the parents.
Most of them we know them.
Yeah, so it's like an easy thing. Yeah, it's like
sweet.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The
Well,
kids
that's
love.
awesome.
The kids love us.
Yeah, you're like, here, you're gonna watch Halloween. It's a great
Oh no,
movie.
I can't do that.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie. Yes, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. There is a link in the description below to check out that horror couple so you guys can go buy their gear, subscribe to their channel if you haven't already, and go follow them on Instagram and Twitter.
What do I do? I'm a YouTube star, dude. Of course, that's what I do.
Yeah.
You should edit out the first answer. I just want to be like, I'm on YouTube, bro.
I throw water balloons at drunk dudes on the strip and make TikToks out of it. I'm a millionaire.
Is that a thing?
I've only been punched twice. Probably.
They make videos
Gotta be
about
a
all
thing,
kinds
right?
of stuff. Yeah.
If it isn't, I just created it. So just split some of the money with me if it ends up working for you.
What, like a 40? How much percent?
40 sounds good. All right, if you're doing the legwork, I'll take 40%. You can have the 60. You know, take the punches. If somebody punches you, hopefully they don't.
Nah, I mean that would suck.
You could do water balloons filled with Gatorade, and then they just get bees all over them. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, yeah, guys. We have been talking here for holy crap. It's we're going on 3 hours right now. Impressive. But yeah, I think we've had a really good chat. I've had a blast getting to know you guys. This has been really fun.
Thanks so much.
I want to hang out and listen to music and you know, put on some records with you guys and kick it.
Crimshine. Check out Crimshine.
Yep, got to check that out. I got to check out the Sabrina Carpenter video for sure. At
check
least
it out.
If for nothing else, for Jenna Ortega and Rowan Campbell.
Yes.
As far as pop goes, I do really like Lorde. Lorde is like the pop star that I really enjoy.
Like
She's
her
a little
too.
different, but yeah, I dig her stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you got like a wide range of music too. I like that. You listen to a lot of different things.
Oh my gosh, I'm a nerd about it all. It's Kate and I have like 550-ish records in the collection.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of all over the place a little bit.
How do you feel about the way things are now, where like you don't need physical media because everything's like streamed?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, just want to say, what's up to Kanan? How you doing, man? Great to see you in the chat. Ghost Pirate Entertainment, what a channel Kanan
What's
Becker's
going on,
got
dude?
over there. Got to check out his channel if you don't already. Give him a sub. Yeah, so the way I feel about it is it's really convenient to be able to listen to music on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. I really like owning. To me, the physical media that I collect is vinyl. So I do collect movies to a certain extent, but I'm not like chasing all the new like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome, like all those really like. I love watching channels where people talk about them because I get to still enjoy like how cool the packaging is and everything.
Right.
But I don't have that kind of cash for all of that. But vinyl, because like music is just so important to me. And certain records I seek out just because I love the way that they're recorded and I want to hear them on vinyl because I think it's the best way to listen to music. So my wife and I have a turntable. We have an Audio Technica turntable, and then we have this Marshall speaker. It's just like this, you know, we hook it right up to the record player, and it's similar to like Marshall amps. It has this really warm sound. It fills up the whole house. So whenever I can, I listen to music on vinyl, and then of course out of convenience, you end up listening to music digitally. There's something so cool about holding a record.
Yeah, and also you can like show someone your collection. You could be like, here it is. Like
and certain things like there's that album The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused. Have you ever heard that record, Rob?
No, but it sounds like I would love it.
It's from like '98. They're the Swedish band. They ended up becoming the International Noise Conspiracy or whatever the heck the second band. They started a second band that got like a little more popular, I think. But I ended up finding it was like a reissue of the record on double vinyl. And you know, the vinyl's like that thick and you get like 2 records and it just sounds amazing. And I think that's the fun thing about vinyl collecting is this giant piece of physical media. There's posters inside. You know, it just sounds better than any other thing. I don't know.
Also the lyric sheet, it gives you something to read while you're listening.
Yep, absolutely.
I kind of missed that part of it, you know.
And you can appreciate like the artwork because you're actually looking at something that's like, you know, 12 by 12. So it's like you really get to soak in, you know, the artwork. And then sometimes there's like the gatefold with like the concert pictures and everything. I don't know. I'm a total nerd about vinyl. I could talk about it all friggin' day.
It's a cool thing though.
Yeah, I have that. Their Green Day put out this Dookie box. It's like this fat.
No, I saw that. The 30th anniversary of Dookie. Yeah.
I snagged that right up. I was like, I have to have it. It's got like 7 records in it or something like that. Yeah. It has like all the demos and all that stuff. There's like a live show they played before they even popped off. Like
it's got like original versions of Basket Case and like certain songs that were like the lyrics were totally different.
Yeah.
And yeah, like stuff I never heard, and I try to follow everything they do. So
there's even like a demo version of I didn't know this, but they did a demo version of Hashinka, which ended up being on Nimrod. So yeah, it went 2 albums later that they finally recorded it in the studio, but there's a demo on Dookie of it, which is just kind of wild to hear, you know?
Yeah, so it was like an old song, and I had no idea. I was like, oh, they wrote this back then? I was like, Time of Your Life was an old song too, I found out. Like that song Time of Your Life. He wrote that long time
really?
ago. Yeah, it was like one of his old demos he just brought up again.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. Like, man, I'm so happy I never got rid of any of my records. Like, I've got rid of some of my DVDs when I upgraded back in the day, but I haven't gotten rid of any of my records.
I got mixed feelings about it. Like I appreciate how there's less clutter, and I appreciate how like it's convenient because my whole collection's like in my back pocket now on my phone.
Yeah.
But like I miss like the collecting part of it. You know, like I miss that part of it. So.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes it's just. I just want to hear the crackles and the pops of the vinyl, you know, especially if I'm listening to something old, you know.
That goes back to what I said about the certain punk bands. I love how it just sounds like a 4-track recording.
Yeah, man, listening to Op Ivy on vinyl because the Hellcat did a reissue of it, so it sounds great, but you still get the nice like crackle and pop
that hiss sound.
Yeah, and then I even have like talking about Green Day. I have an original pressing of 39 Smooth. So
I love that. That album's incredible. Like,
yeah. And dude, it's all like the paper's all yellowed. It's just, oh my God.
Dude, he solos on that record. Like unbelievable. Like I don't
blues solos. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't even know he could do that. Cause I found out about those records and I went back to like, and I'm like, whoa, he's kicking ass.
Yeah, he definitely showed off more on the first 2 records. Like Kerplunk's really fun too. I think Kerplunk has like some of my favorite, Green Day songs. One for the Razorbacks is one of my favorites. The Christie Road is always going to be like a favorite track of mine from them.
Who Wrote Holding Caulfield is my favorite of Kerplunk.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
That song's awesome. It was like Trey just took him to the next level when they got Trey on Kerplunk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trey's got a really fun style, especially with having back then when they really were a 3-piece. I think the way he uses the hi-hat like really filled in the space of not having that second guitar. But now they have like 3 guitars and a keyboardist, and they're like a 6-piece when they play now. So it's just wild.
They're selling out like baseball stadiums, so they have. I think it's good for like a full sound though, like a nice full sound
for sure. They're a totally different band. Like, are they even playing? Like, would they even play something off of Kerplunk or 1039 Smooth Out Slappy Hours? Like, I don't even know if they would anymore.
I think they do. I think they do here and there. Like, I've seen them, because I've been following their latest tour on YouTube. They play like Private Al. They play.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear that one. I was like, ooh. I was like, that's kind of
hardcore.
Cool.
Yeah. One of My Lies. That's one of my favorites right there.
Oh,
that's
dude,
a really fun one.
I love that song. Mike Duran's such a good bass player too.
Yeah, he really flashed in those early days. Yeah, I gotta listen to that stuff now. Now I want to just go and sit and listen to Green Day for the rest of the night.
He would throw in these bass runs that were just so like they get stuck in your head, and he was so like Longview, so good. I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah, there's the one song on is it called Road to Judgment on 39 Smooth?
Road to Acceptance.
Road to Acceptance. It's got that really like jumpy, like the bass line is just really like kind of funky and driving and
yeah. In the middle of the song, the middle of the song's all bass and drums. It's like yeah.
The little do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, fun little Mike Dirnt bass lines. We miss them because I don't really hear them anymore. What's really funny is when American Idiot came out, everyone was like, the bass really drives the record, and I'm like, no, wrong. It's like, you're just saying that because it sounds good in Rolling Stone to say that the bass drives the album. But like on that record, I was like, where's the bass? You know, because I felt like Nimrod might be like I think, you know, if I had to pick one of their records, like, don't get me wrong, I love Dookie to death, but Nimrod is just, you know, it's like 17 songs or whatever. There's every flavor of Green Day's on that record.
I love the variety on that record. I love the variety. Like they did everything, and like they did like they did Time of Your Life. They did King for a Day. They did all the Walking Alone. They did all these different style songs. Such a good record. But bass is like a cool instrument in the sense that like you don't got to do a lot. Sometimes you could just let it like a root note ring out. It's like, and like I feel like that's what Mike was doing on American Idiot. He just wanted like a full bass sound.
Well, and it's more of like a soundscapey like concept album too. So it is more about the songs than like the individual instruments. But I do really like the way that you pick your spots, you know.
Right.
And so I felt like he was so good at picking his spots on, especially on their early records where he holds it down and then his fills were just so tasty.
Yeah, and sometimes the simplest thing to do is like it sounds the best. So like sometimes just root notes are so like good. So
yeah, the Ramones did that their whole career and it worked very, very well for them. The simplicity, you know.
Yeah, and then there's Matt Friedman from Rancid that I just scratch my head and I can't even begin to follow. I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
He's amazing.
That guy is like, he's a machine. He's like.
It's when I watch people do videos where they like cover the solo and everything, and I'm just like, how the hell did you figure that out?
No, but I like rewind it and I'm like, what is he doing? I'm like, he has a thing called Matt Friedman's bass bunker now where he sits and plays bass in front of you. So I'm constantly like watching his fingers and I'm like, this guy, he makes it look easy. He just makes it look easy. He's just like, I'm like, how is he doing? But
it's second nature. Some people are just on that other level, you know. It's wild.
I think he's like 58 or something, and he's still like, he kills me. He kills me. Like I can't even he plays better with one finger than I can with my whole body.
Yeah, some people have the gift, Rob. Some people just have the gift.
Luckily, I found YouTube.
And Kaylee.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's true. You're pretty good too.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up because we could just go down the punk rock route all friggin' night. But you guys have been so much fun to hang out with. Let's keep in touch. Let's do something together sometime soon. And whether it's spooky season or not, I would imagine that season's just going to be wild for everyone. But we'll keep in touch and find a good time to work together again. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on the show. Thank you so much.
I had a blast. Thank you.
And
so
much fun.
Thanks for having us on, man. This has been a lot of fun. And thanks to everybody in the chat. The chat seems so nice and supportive. And really cool people showed up tonight. So
absolutely. Yeah, the folks in the chat you guys have been amazing. You can find Rob and Kaylee over at That Horror Couple. Their links are in the description below. So go give them a follow. Go give them a sub. We're going to get them to that 8 whatever I had mentioned earlier that I shouldn't have brought up again, but we're going to get them. Let's get them. You know what? Before spooky season is over, let's have them reach. I think you guys could get to 5. We're going to get them to 5 before spooky season is over, y'all. Hey, Dave, the momentum grows, you know, it snowballs. So
you believe in me, Dave. I appreciate that.
I believe.
Yeah.
I don't want. All right, do what he says, people.
That's what's up. Go give them some love, sub, and then guys, we'll keep in touch and we'll see you again sometime soon. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You too.
Take care, y'all.